Welcome one, welcome all to the start of something new here. The Mythical League is debuting here, taking the spot of the RIP Divine League here. And folks, boy, do we have a season for you guys kicking off this one. We have an action-packed, I believe this is 16 teams right now coming into this entire season. We have four separate groups, and I'm going to lay out the entire situation we've got going on here, folks. So, like I said, 16 teams, four groups. Everybody's going to play a best of three one time against all their opponents. It's a single round robin, best of three. And then we get into play ins, which are best of fives to figure out who's in the playoffs. And then after that, we're going to land on double elimination playoff format. So, certainly a really fun season that also, it seems like a lot of players are a fan of this season, but they can be a fan of the season. I'm a fan of this analyst desk today, mainly because I've got my long-winded friend here, Bonfire, on
Oh,
my
really?
side here. Long-winded, yeah. You ramble.
I
You've
do
been known to
ramble.
ramble.
I've been known to ramble every now and again.
Well, let's talk about this, man. I mean, it's a brand new rebranding for this league, and we've had seasons where there hasn't been a ton of people coming up to play in the former Divine League. How are you feeling about the new season and the fact that we have just so much competition for the first mythical season?
Yeah, Slayer, I'm glad you brought it up because it really does feel like with this new season, it's almost revitalized a lot of people's interest in League. I can't tell you how many of my old friends and people that I play with in solo queue are saying, oh yeah, I'm coming back to League because of this new season, and we're seeing it right now with these teams. I believe it's 20. So see, I think there's just so many teams. I mean, it's unbelievable that we have this many players that want to play in Tier 3. And it's really exciting. And then you talked about the mythical format. It is going to be fearless drafting. So that's kind of, for me, the most exciting part. If you've been following the NACL or the LCS, they brought in fearless drafting. It was in LPL's second division as well for a while. And it's the idea that once you draft one champion on your team, you can't draft it again for the rest of the series. And so it really encourages pocket picks. It encourages being flexible, trying out new compositions, and it means that we don't have to watch Azir versus Corki 3 games in a row, which gotta say, pretty excited for because right now, as we're gonna get into talking about the meta soon, I'd imagine it's a little stale at the moment with the really really high tier picks right now, the meta picks. So I'm excited to see some different champions being picked this series.
Yeah, you really got to flex your champion pool. Now, everybody, it's great. I think it breeds competition on every level of just the North America needs to be better because, if we're innately playing the game, I know we're just some tier three, we're some tier three tournament right now that has a Masters cap going on. But for the whole scheme of North America, the plan is to get so good that you can compete internationally and win worlds. If you don't have a good enough champ pool, none of that's really going to matter. So I think Fearless, like you said, is an amazing way to test that out. But let's talk about the teams that we have in front of us here because one is a well-known org when it comes to the Risen area, the Dominate division, the winning formula. Well, they certainly learned how to win down there in Dominate, but now they believe they can take a step up and try their hand at the Mythical League. So the winning formula, I've known this roster for a while. Quality player, Lee Sinners. They've got Zokum on the top lane. BMW is their AD carry. Like they've been a roster that's been put together for a long time. And on the other side, they're going to be taking on Omega Gaming Goobers, who love the name. Definitely embracing meme culture with that one. But I know Ivar, shout out Ivar, is a big part of this org and a team that we don't know too much about, but knowing, Ivar's little community, how passionate he is about League of Legends, I'm sure this team is going to be very competitive and make some wakes, and they're going to look to do it in week one.
Yeah, I think that this is, one of the most exciting parts of any new season where every team's just trying to feel each other out. It's like two boxers in the first round, right? Just kind of throwing jabs, throwing some fakes, figuring out what other teams' tells are, who the star players are, and so on and so on. And it's obviously the same for us. We can do as much research as we want on OP.GGs and look at their solo queues and whatnot, but how will they play together as a team? How will they play up to this level of competition in the winning formula situation? These are all big question marks for every team. So, unfortunately, I know I'm supposed to be the analysis who's supposed to talk about specific players and what they bring to the table, but first game of the season, I don't have that. We're in the same boat, dear viewer. We're watching a lot of these players for the first time in this team setting, in this league. And so it's pretty exciting.
And what's even more exciting, we are zoomed in and honed in on the draft here. So we're in to the game number one draft where, like we mentioned, it is fearless, but fearless doesn't mean jack when we're in this first game. It's just a normal draft going forward. But what is important to mention is we are on 14.2. So that patch where you've seen some pretty big buffs. And speaking of the champions that are the most beneficial of those buffs, you see that the winning formula took away probably the strongest champion on the patch right now. Karma is taken away out the gate, as it seems like it's a support heavy ban lean for the winning formula.
Yeah, Karma and Ezreal, that combination is really a tale as old as time. It's like the perfect weak side bot lane, great poke, and you really don't have to be too concerned about getting dove or needing resources. So they are going to take that Karma away, and we'll have to see if the Ezreal also taken away. Got a lot of love from the dev team, quite a bit of buffs. I know you're pretty happy about that as an Ezreal one trick, or I guess a main. You're not a one trick, but a main.
Right.
But you're right. A lot of bans. That brand ban you might think is a support. I feel like it's been going mostly in the jungle area because of the clear. That is going to be banned out. And first pick and Graves is really interesting because me personally have not felt like with the new item changes he's been super affected. You know, there have been some champions that really feel so much stronger because of the new items. I'd say Graves isn't one of them, but as a whole, still a very strong jungler.
Yeah, 100%. And ironically, Lee Sinners has been playing a ton of Graves this season. So, not really playing the champion that his marker name comes from, but certainly comfortable on that champion. On the other side, it's pretty standard. You leave up a pretty powerful mid laner right now, a control mage that can play pretty safe for those Omega Gaming Goobers. And they'll just slam that. So Azir right out the gate gets you that. I mean, we all know what Azir gets you. I don't really care how much the seasons really change. You know what you're getting with Azir every time you lock him in.
Yeah, and Azir with the new items, you got that Nashor's Tooth, you got that Lich Bane. It makes your Q autos do so much damage. It burns and it does more on hit. I mean, very, very strong itemization. Azir, I'd say probably one of the strongest mid laners in the game right now, alongside the Corki. So it'll be interesting to see if TWF really lean towards that Corki angle when you build the Malignants. You can go Triforce as well if you want, but Malignants and Eclipse is really the combination because the burn of the Malignants procs the Eclipse, and so you're just doing extra lethality and extra damage. It's very strong. On the other side of things, though, the Ashe, very, very high presence across really every pro league, and that's because as a support or an AD carry in both different areas is an S tier champion, I'd say right now.
Yep. And this flawless buildability with a lot of the fact that you don't have to be chained to a mythic has opened up a lot for Ashe here. Syndra is an interesting combination. She's actually kind of fallen off with a lot of the item changes. I feel like there's a lot of better control mages to pick with, but still, you know what she brings to the table. I imagine this is just trying to range match this Azir coming out here from midnight, just trying to be able to, go toe to toe and poke them. And this hover is, in fact, not troll, ladies and gentlemen. I do know, thanks to GoForino, you guys will see very quickly
Whoa!
as it's locked in. You'll see GoForino later, but he provided us the notes that Source Alker, I believe that's how you pronounce his name here, is a Yi lover. And I'm sure you have plenty thoughts about Yi players, especially in a competitive scene, Bonfire.
Slayer, here's my thing with Master Yi. If you're gonna pick Master Yi, sure, there are situations where Master Yi can be warranted. Into an Ashe Syndra, I think might struggle. I mean, that's just quite a lot of off the rip CC. If you ever try to go in as Master Yi, there's an arrow to your face. There's a scatter the weak. I think that, and they haven't even picked the rest of their draft yet. I mean, Rammus could still get picked. It'd go Graves top. There's just a lot of different angles where this could really bite you in the butt. And with Yi, you know it, I know it. If this champion does not snowball, if this champion isn't ahead in the mid game, it's really going to fall off of a cliff. And you're missing quite a bit of that front line as well that a potential, bruiser or tank jungler might provide. So look, I get it. You love Master Yi. That's great and all. But I think specifically here, it might not be in its best position to succeed.
Yeah, the way I think about Master E is like you're trading out Nocturne's survivability and a bit of safety with his spell shield and the way he can get on top of people for just more raw damage. That's that's kind of what it is, right? And it makes you very prone to just getting blown up, right? Because no matter how you're playing E, you have to go in at some point. And
Yeah.
like you mentioned about Fire, if you are not very ahead or have the right situation with CC abilities down, you're just gonna get blown up for free. It's not like you're gonna be a tank either. So I'm curious to see how Yi plays out. I actually think this is the first time I've ever casted Master.
I
Well,
think
not
so too.
casted,
Yeah.
been a part of a Master Yi game at this level. Certainly, I like putting the Maokai next to it. It does make me question the Mega Gaming Goobers comp. What exactly they're doing with this Maokai? I would assume is going top here. You could throw it support, and I do love this answer from the winning formula. I think Cho'Gath is very strong right now, very safe out. You know what you're getting with Cho'Gath, right? You're just going to be a giant meat shield who, if he wants to, and this Yi gets low enough, Bonfire, you're just going to devour him and at like 40% HP because it's a glass cannon Yi. So I love that answer, not only for the lane up against a Maokai, where it's likely a safe lane, I assume, but you're also just going to be able to kind of get rid of this Yi whenever you kind of want.
Yeah, I mean, also, I'm glad you brought up the. Oh boy, this Yi is gonna
Yeah,
struggle. Holy moly! I was just gonna say you brought up Nocturne. I'm glad you did because yeah, when you think about damage, sure they're the same, but Nocturne has an ability that turns the lights off in the room for everybody. He doesn't have that. Yi is a very selfish champion. So this Varus and the Azir are just. I'm glad. I will say for OMG, I'm glad that they recognize that Yi's going to play for himself. Azir and Varus very susceptible to getting dove on. Draft a Maokai, and I really hope yes they draft the Braum. So that's good. They have some protection for their Azir and their Varus, who realistically are high damage dealers as well, especially the Azir late game. But the issue with the Maokai Braum is that they're playing defense quite a lot of the time. These are pretty defensive, tanky champions. These are always on the back foot. Now Yi is completely and totally alone when they go in. I cannot stress that enough. There's no follow up. There's no other bruiser. There's no other assassin. It's Master Yi. There's a Maokai and a Braum, and then there's a Azir and Varus. It's just a very big gap between these champions, which I think is slightly concerning. So I actually can't believe I'm saying this. I think this jungler needs to get flank angles in order to really, have a high presence. And you don't want that from your jungler. You need that smite up. So,
Yeah.
little concerning. I'm a little concerned, Slayer.
Yeah, Source Walker is certainly calling a shot right out the gate. So we'll see exactly how that plays. I don't want to keep harping on the Yi pick being bad, but it's unfortunately the reality of this draft. If you had junglers to pick that I think would go well into Yi, I like Graves a lot because of his true grit. He's going to naturally be armor tanky, and then he's also going to be able to dish out the damage. He's also fine just farming up in the lane as well. So maybe you at least have that if you're Source Walker, is that Graves and Yi are both going to kind of just handshake, I assume, full clears most of the time, and try and farm up. So neither of them will really get in the way of each other. But what that means, as we do get into the the client side draft, folks, is that it's really, really, it's gonna be really important who can win their lanes in the early game here, because I don't think there's gonna be much to little jungle help for any of these lanes.
Yeah, I mean, this is a junglers playing for themselves, playing for their late games kind of game. I do think that if the Yi, I think it really comes down to successful ganks. If the Yi or the Graves, if either of them can get into a situation where they get an early kill or an early assist for themselves, that could be the difference maker between taking grubs, between getting a first Rift Herald or a first or second Dragon. Because realistically, this early on, I'm glad you put it until the late game both Graves and Yi are fairly strong at the same time. It's very different than when you see a Nidalee into a Hecarim, or you see a Lilia into a Rammus or something of that sort, where it's
Right.
you know who's going to win in a 1v1. I think that if Graves and Yi both were, let's say, dropped into an arena and they had to 1v1, it would be on a razor's margin. So um, I think that one assist, one kill, one stolen camp, and early, it's going to come down to the most micro of micros for who's going to snowball more. And then late game, like you said, like it just comes down to a pure damage check, and that early game is going to matter quite a bit.
Exactly. And I do also think this is a great angle for Zokoma because I've played a bit of Cho'Gath. The joke that Bonfire knows very well when I play Cho'Gath is that I just turn my brain off when I'm playing Cho'Gath
Sure.
and you win games. I do think right now the best way to respond to Cho'Gath is picking aggressive laners that can kind of get him off of his blocks so that he doesn't just casually farm up, get to the 6 stacks of devour off minions at like 15 minutes, and then just be a giant tank threat that nobody can really kill and has a bunch of Heartsteel procs. that is not the situation here. I think Zokomal is going to have a very casual lane, like we already talked about. It's not like Source Walker is going to show up top lane pre six likely, and Joss isn't going to have a ton of Maokai damage to even kill him. Cho'Gath can out sustain him, so I think this is a great lane for Zokoma to just turn into that giant Cho'Gath that we can barely see on our screens by the time we hit 25 minutes.
Yeah, if I am gonna try to make a counterpoint for the OMG fans and give some hope to OMG because we have been fairly harsh on their draft so far. I got to say I love the Azir. I think that
Mm.
Azir is just so strong as a champion, and I think that as long as you're not getting picked off by the long range CC. I think this is a great Azir game, especially into a Syndra, because I'm glad you brought up the range point. Early on, yes, Syndra can get her balls down, can really disrupt an Azir, but late game, if Syndra walks anywhere close to where the soldiers could be, she's just going to get one shot, and she's always going to be in danger with being low mobility and whatnot of getting shuffled into a Yi, into a Maokai, into a Verishold. So I do think that the Azir could be a huge point, especially because you have a Braum with you as well. Azir Braum, very strong combination. You can proc those stuns. You've got Varus Braum, strong with the stuns. Yi Braum, very strong with the stuns. So I think you're getting a lot of mileage with this Braum, paired up with a lot of these carries. So throwing OMG fans a little bit of a bone. It's not an awful draft, but we're very harsh on the Yi.
Yeah, I mean, that's what happens when you pick Key in the competitive scene. So
Yeah.
we don't see it very often for a reason. But we do see very often here when it comes to these broadcasts, I guess Divine League and Champs League, we'll call them Mythical League now, throwing them in there, is caster predictions. So let's throw those out there because we didn't get a touch on them prior to getting to the draft here. And you can see across the board, Dobimon shout out him. He's going with me with the winning formula 2-0, in fact. We also have Go for Reno and Gordo, our casters for tonight, both believing in the Omega Gaming Goobers. I'm obviously on the winning formula, and because we don't have Bonfire up here due to some graphical complications, Bonfire, I mean, just what is your predictions? I would, I guess.
I'm graphical complications is the nice way of putting it. I was told that they were concerned I might not show up, which is true. I've had my issues in the past with my work schedule and whatnot. No hard feelings, but I am here. I'm happy to be here. 2-0 towards the winning formula is where I'm going
Oh,
with it. I know I'm with Dobimon on this. Just look at Dobimon and then imagine it's me, and there you go. It's a perfect graphic.
you know, I would say, to be honest with you, if everybody on the broadcast team for Champs and Mythical, if we had to like if you'd asked me who's the closest looking to
I don't look
Bonfire,
unlikely. Yeah,
I think you look decently similar to Dobby.
it's a good looking
Yes,
man.
is it because you're both white men wearing glasses? Probably, probably.
And
Uh,
it's a good look. He's a good-looking man, so I will take that compliment any day of the week. Yeah, I look, the winning formula, here I
oh,
go. Now I'm getting a little live hot fix right here. I I think that the winning formula have proven themselves in lower leagues, and I think they're ready to make the jump up. Are they going to win the split? I could not tell you. I don't think so. I think it's going to take a couple of splits for them to get acclimated. But are they going to win their week one matchup? Give it to me.
okay. Well, we certainly have a split desk per usual. I will always be against Gordo. It seems like no matter how we predict. Well, it's actually never mind. That's the opposite of me and
Let's
Gordo
say you
usually.
and Gordo are
Me and
like
Gordo are usually the ones that are jokingly said to have colluded on our takes, even though
so
it
true.
never really happens. We are into the runes here. You can see it's a grass fight top lane. Nobody's surprised with that one. Fleet, lethal tempo on Yi and Graves. I mean, these are all pretty standard. I am curious to see what the
Oh,
Varus picks are. Uh,
interesting. Fleet on Azir. I feel
yeah.
like I feel like I've been when I play Azir, I've been running lethal. I can understand the fleet though, especially into a Syndra where you have to kind of get your damage out and then kind of, it's like a little in and out. And that is a Hail of Blades Varus.
Okay. Which does not really give us too much of an
No,
idea
it
of
does
what
not.
he's going. I do know that when it comes down to Mr. Viseria, does like the lethality ADs a lot, so you'd assume Varus is going that way. I personally like the on hit one a bit more right now, but I'm
Yeah,
not
yeah.
playing, so it doesn't really
I
matter
agree.
here. And then let's make sure to get a look at supports, Glacial and Guard. Yeah, that's standard.
Well, I've seen Braum go glacial sometimes, but I
Into a
think
rel
that
though.
yeah, I knew a rel. I think you're right. Especially, yeah. Now, Never mind, it is fairly standard. The Hail of Blades, I'm glad you brought that up as well, just quickly, because I can hear the League of Legends ambient noise in the background. Um, I think that I'm with you. I think on hit Varus is 100% the way to go. But if there was ever a game to go poke Varus into an Azir, into a Ashe, and into a Yi, this might be the game.
Yeah, I can see that. I just good luck getting those piercing arrows through my 6K health Cho'Gath once he comes around. I'm calling it right now, man. I'm hyping up Zoko because
You're a big
I
Cho'Gath
just think
enjoyer.
well, I just think that this is a paradise kind of Cho'Gath game.
Sure.
But I believe it's time to see it play out on the Rift here. So without further ado, unless I get any word from production that we are not ready. Oh, never mind. I have gotten word from production we're not ready. So you guys are stuck with us
Never mind.
longer. So
um, I actually shouldn't have done that.
you you're an evil.
Dude, I
What was
should have
that?
got my cat, and then I could have done like the Doctor Evil, you know?
Yeah, but Doctor Evil's cat's white, and
Yeah, it's
your
true. I have a
lovely cat
black cat.
is a
I
black
have a
cat.
black cat. I was
You also
actually
don't have to shave your
thinking
head.
I'm not gonna do that. I've been growing my hair for this is, by the way, 6 months of growth. You can't see it because I have a black chair, but it's
Sheesh.
like it's really long now, actually. It's very long.
Mullet
Um,
season.
yeah, it is mullet season. Is it mullet season? Should it be mullet season?
Nope.
Drop your answers down in the Twitch chat.
Oh
Let me know
God.
if it should be mullet season. Here, I'll say this: if it is a no, I was gonna say if it's a 2-0 for Omega, I would go mullet, but I'm not willing to do that.
So, no, before Bonfire makes any very silly promises about this series, we are officially ready to hit Summoner's Rift. So, without further ado, let's kick off the new Mythical League with Gordo and Goferino, the Dashie casters. They'll have you guys through the game. We'll see you guys on the other side.
Very much, Slayer, and welcome everybody to Summoner's Rift for game number 1 between the winning formula and Omega Gaming Goobers. We're going to have to get some player names and some health bars back on the screen before too long, but everybody getting out here for game 1 of the newly named Risen Mythical League. Going to be an exciting one here. New name, new league, new settings. And I'm going to be honest with you, Goferino, that extra syllable between Divine and Mythical, that's going to be the bane of my existence for at least the first half of this split. Goferino, you are still on mute, my friend, by the way. I see you in the Discord. I see a little
right.
microphone.
I kinda forgot.
Welcome, welcome.
Yeah, I was remembering earlier too, and then I was like, oh right, I need to move my chair before the mics are hot. So, Chet doesn't hear like across the floor. But yeah, we are Barak. New settings. We got Riot to remove Mythic, so we can name this league Mythical. And yeah, I mean, pretty calm start, all things considered. Nothing too out of the ordinary here. I'm expecting pretty stock standard starts. Maybe we see a little bit of spice here with this bot lane. We got Ketu and Viscaria just chilling in this brush here, not giving Sourcewalker a leash by the looks of it. I mean, he definitely can clear the jungle fast, but a leash from Braum is always really nice, just due to the Winter's Bite passive giving that free stun.
For sure. That's going to be an interesting combo with the double hits coming through from Yi, a lot of attack speed from the Varus. Really love to see Hail of Blades Varus alongside the Braum. That's going to really add to the power of this bot lane duo early in the game. Give you some little cheese potential up against that squishy Ashe.
Nope.
I want to keep an eye on how this Varus is going to build as well. We've seen mostly on hit Varus, but they usually take lethal tempo. I do wonder if we're going to get to see a little bit of lethality action, having seen this Hail of Blades come through.
Because I've been mostly seeing lethality Varus, at least in the pro games I've watched in LCS and LEC. Can't commentate on solo queue because I haven't faced any Barai in solo queue. We're going off the cactus to cacti argument. Either way, though, like the desk alluded to, probably gonna be kind of chill here early on. Are these junglers known for ganking? You can see Lee Sinner's already going for an early red invade here, just taking that blue buff, running right over to the enemy blue. Sourcewalker is none the wiser because there was no ward spotting this on out.
Yeah, Lee Centers should be able to secure this one. Interesting to see the Ghost on the Graves. Definitely an option, given that he can dash over those walls with relative ease. Looks like he is going to be able to snag that one and get on out. I do think they spotted each other on the way out, so Sourcewalker going to be aware that something has gone down here, but not going to be able to help out his own red buff in any way, and I don't think crossing over towards the other team's red buff is really going to be an option at this point in his clear. Does have the push in bot lane, though, so it could potentially be something that they decide to go for. Definitely a very fast pace so far for Source Walkers, so unless Lee Sinners can guarantee that they get the 3 buff, which it looks like they will, they're skipping Gromp to make sure that they go and secure it, but potential invade from Source Walker coming through either way.
Yeah, because Source Walker would be trying to 1v1 a Graves with red buff when all they have is blue buff here as he's dueling early on. Not the best, since you kind of just queue onto them with Alpha Strike. Then after that, oh yeah, this can get bloody quick, but you have the Cryo in the bot lane going to be helping you on out here. Source Walker looking to take this, but Ghost has been popped.
Yeah, interesting choice by Lee Sinners there. He gets scared because Kitu is coming up from the bottom side, has to dash over the wall, pops the Ghost to try to go for the Smite Steal, loses out on that 50-50, and Source Walker will walk away, equalizing it at 2 buffs apiece. Both junglers do get access to a red buff. They trade those back and forth, and Source Walker will be walking away with a little bit of a CS lead here as well. Lee Sinners trying to deny that steal, skipped his Gromp, so he's going to be about a camp behind for a little while. Meanwhile, Source Walker already trying to get active on the map, or is just passing right through mid to make sure he can secure himself a little scuttle crab.
Yeah, like, it's a Yi gank when the Yi is, like, level 3. You're just kind of walking into the lane like, hey, Azir, you got CC yet? Can you shuffle this Syndra into me? No? Alrighty, let me give your laner some free Spears of Wrath. Oh,
Yeah.
Sarah.
Gets a little damage. Helper.
Oh, cheeky.
Toying around with the recall play there is going to be a little bit desynced from the bot lane there, but doesn't seem like it's going to have too much impact, as they're probably going to try to just catch this wave. An interesting recall from Kitu here, though, without having pushed the wave. Maybe going to rely on Viscaria to be able to hold it. They're going to take the recall as well. We'll see if that ends up costing them. Does seem like it's being held in a pretty nice spot.
Yeah, might be a little bit awkward here. If Viscaria wants to back themselves here. I mean, they still got all their pots here. They got 2 biscuits. They're pretty full on health, so they don't have to back here. It looks like they already had on. Oh no, they just backed themselves right there. So, tier coming out though from Ketu does kind of confirm that it is that lethality. There's gank in top line.
Really nice chain CC here. Just going to go for the escape, but going to be forced to blow the flash. Lee Sinners might not be done yet. Will not be able to chase underneath that turret. But there's a really nice preset play coming through from TWF, showing that this team has been together for a while. They roll up the support, they roll up the mid laner. 4 members up here to secure those first grubs. Source Walker going to trade across the map by picking up that first dragon.
Yep, scaling versus the here and now. Getting 3 grubs for yourself early on. Gonna be nice here. You don't have the most hardcore siege composition, but plates are still on the table. It's gonna give you that extra bit of juice when you do get to those turrets. You need that pushing power. That aside though, with that presence in top lane that Helper showed, it does mean that BMW is losing out quite a bit here on the bot side. We already saw 1 plate drop down. They are now down 17 CS. That's nearly full entire waves. Your support finally coming back right here, though, can help them at least equalize some of the groups.
Evidently, Midnight looking for a little bit of an aggressive trade in mid, dashing in. Has no fear about the burst damage the quality player can bring to the table with that unleashed power. It's not the old Syndra yet. I feel like I say that every game I see Syndra now. As just, yeah, you know, I guess it's not the old school one that can one-shot you at level 6. She needs a little bit more splinters now to get to that phase. So, to the point where Azir just feels comfortable dashing in and trading with you here as soon as you hit level 6. Does also have to be respected because you don't know exactly where Source Walker is. And where they are is bottom river. They're waiting on the respawn of this Scuttle Crab, going to get it as soon as it arrives. And just looking to keep up that jungle pace. We'll have the blue buff available in just a second. Some nice pathing so far from Source Walker to make sure that they are going to be staying about 1 camp ahead of where the Graves is. They're going to be picking up neutral objectives at a relatively nice pace, even though they did lose access to those grubs. They are going to be looking to complete their item first and try to get out and actually be able to impact the map, as both these guys are kind of just power farming all day long.
Yeah, speaking of grubs, I'm kind of curious how long it's going to take Riot to properly add a grubs timer to spectate. Because we still don't have icons properly for Chemtech and Hextech Dragons, so my hopes are not high.
Yeah, well, we don't have a proper timer for grubs. We do have a tracker for how many grubs have been taken up at the top there, in between the Herald and the turret. That's a pretty interesting one. as it's
yeah.
information that's, first of all, really hard to see on all the official broadcasts. Like, every major league doesn't show you the grubs anywhere in their UI. And you also, I've been complaining about this all ever since the patch dropped. You can't see how many grubs the enemy has either. Doesn't show up on their passive bar. So at least we get that
Really?
full information here on Risen.
I thought it did. I swear in my games I've been able to click on enemies and see how many grubs they have. Like,
Pretty
technically,
sure
it's
you
like,
can't, but maybe I'm
Yeah.
just actually misplaying constantly and I just don't know how to access that information.
I'm not sure. There's a chance that I'm misremembering too. But because like technically on one hand it's like one thing that's like kind of easy to remember, like, oh, did they just get all the grubs? Okay, you kind of know. Like, okay. They have a little Voidlings. Looking for a bit of aggression here on the bot side.
BMW getting some slows.
Oh,
Key2 misses the Chains of Corruption wide. That's going to be a big ultimate down. Viscaria still doesn't have access to the Glacial Prison either. Or that Glacial Fissure, rather. Helper, though, doesn't choose to capitalize. Could have gone in, could have gotten the big ultimate. But they decide they're a little bit uneasy about it. They don't know exactly where Source Walker is. Haven't seen him in a while. And they are not going to hard commit for that bot lane fight.
Yeah, you're a little under half health there as Helper, and you guys had already won the trade, and it's just a free back there. Thanks to all the minions you have there and how long the trade went on. Like, yes, Ketu, as this lethality bears, has a lot of burst, but that's just the upfront part. When it comes to attacking later on, not so much. In the Ash, once you pop that Ranger's Focus, gonna be able to really start out TPSing the bears. Helps a lot that the Chains of Corruption did miss in that trade. Had that landed onto BMW, they might be down to cleanse right now, but once again, another gank into the top lane. We might see the first blood here, but not a ton of damage between a Cho'Gath and a support Rel, it would seem.
Yep, they will look to get second grubs here, and you really do not want to let that 5 or 6 grub mark get hit over. As you can see, Midnight trying to get involved, pushes in for the shuffle, but won't be able to make anything happen. And now he's 1 versus 4. First blood picked up by Joust, but is traded back immediately by quality player. That's 1 grub picked up by Zakuma, but Zakuma will fall shortly after. It does end up with 5 grubs over to TWF, but OMG, they get themselves 2 kills.
Yeah. Ooh, that's big too, because they also get the first blood there. Yes, it goes over to the Maokai, but I mean, you'll still take that. It depends, because TWF was able to get 5 grubs under their belt. So if they auto attack the turret, they get the little voidlings there. It's like old ZZ Rot, except it's auto attack based. And yeah, see what they're gonna do about this upcoming dragon as well, because the objectives definitely have been the name of the game so far. It took us this long to get the first kills on the board. A bit more aggression coming on out. Chains of Corruption going to miss again here. That was an NFL puncher. They would be fired.
I just don't understand why we can't find 80 carries who just don't miss fair assaults.
He
Definitely
used to
gonna be
like one of the most missed ultis in the game.
Oh, it
because-
definitely still is. I'm just doing the I'm doing the meme, the NFL kickers meme. But there's going to be quality player trying to find an engage onto Midnight, who will be able to shuffle away, buffer up that Enchanted Crystal Arrow, but multiple members of Omega coming in from the top side. There's going to be the 3-man Magnet Storm holding them in place, but the shield holding so much time and allowing them to take down Helper. They will be able to move forward onto BMW, and already TWF are being pushed out of the fight. Source Walker marching forward on the Master Yi, turning it into a double kill. Unleashed Power will take him down in trade. And Midnight and Viscaria are going to have to back off here, but they got Joust to tank up and secure the Dragon. That will be second Drake going over to Omega.
And it's going to be the Hex. Alrighty then, and Zoko, unable to attend that fight due to a lack of teleport. Gonna be grabbing themselves some plates up here in that top lane. And yeah, both the top laners finishing one of the new items this season that I have not yet learned the name of. I think that's the Galio Shield one. But either way, you got 3 kills up here, got 2 dragons here. Omega Goobers gonna be feeling fine and dandy going into the mid stages of this game.
Yeah, I thought that's the Sunfire one, right? It's the one that gives you the AoE damage on last hit. Hollow Radiance is what it's called. Not quite. Ooh, Midnight skating away there before we get too deep into item discussion. And yeah, that is the one that gets you the extra damage per second when you take down minions and stuff.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, I'm still learning all the new item names. I learned Unending Despair recently. That's 0 for 3 now. NFL kicker memer. What was it? There's
Yeah,
Unending
the
Despair.
Galio shield item is Kanik Rookern, which is just 2 made-up words. So that's always a fun one to remember.
Yeah. There's World Atlas, that's a new support item.
Yep. Then Runic Compass is the upgraded one, yeah?
I don't know. Then for the new item that replaced Ludens, we just call it Gun.
You can call it Gun. It's Luden's Companion now, which is just a
Yeah.
fun way of saying Gun.
Yeah, this is my gun. I guess that's a reference to Valorant, where you can get gun bunnies for your guns. For
Yeah.
real life money.
I'll take that.
And-
Midnight forced to dodge out on that arrow, going to try to shuffle away, going to get pulled back in by the Magnet Storm, and now 3 members just raining shots into him. An easy kill pickup for Lee Sinners. Midnight is up a little bit too far, didn't get enough distance off of the Shurima shuffle.
Yep. Only going for the Shurima hop there. I guess is what it's called. Because the shuffle is when you also throw out the Q and then you're just flying away like, whee! Get stunned there.
Woo! Still, we're like 0 for 4 on ultimates from the Varus this game. Those Chains of Corruption, they are tough to land. And Kitu gonna just come on up and respectfully take away the Rift Herald. Will be a tower pickup for BMW, though. Will help him get a little bit of gold back, but the Rift Herald secured for the side of Omega. See if they can secure their first tower of the game with that one.
Gordo, why does God give his strongest warriors, me and you on the caster desk, his toughest battles? Kedu's Varus ulti's not hitting.
It's tough, dude. I
Very
think
tough.
it's 4. I might have lost count already,
It's
in which
4.
case it's 4. All right,
Unless
thank you.
there's one
See,
off screen,
it's
you
because
know.
I have you keeping track for me, Gopherino.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's a game me and my friends play. Well, it's not a game. We just flame each other a ton when we're in games, so we're used to counting how many ultis we miss. Don't worry about that. That side, though, pretty dead even when you take a look at the gold here. All things considered, of course, there are other differences, like where the gold is allocated. You can see some nice extra bit of change here on this Syndra for a quality player. That's going to hurt quite a bit if they're able to hit a combo. Helper looking here.
All right, Viscaria just trying to withstand as much as they can and doing a pretty good job of it, too. That Unbreakable buying them so much time. Viscaria able to get a clean escape. No issues there, and that was a landed Chains of Corruption.
Mr. President, we got him. No one dies, though, off of that, so gonna be going back to chilling on the Rift here. Thank you, Caddy, for pointing out the lonely action when the sapling dying is the exciting thing on the map right now. We got about 45 seconds, though, till the next Dragon. Herald has not been summoned yet by Sourcewalker, though, so can be using that for some pressure in a side lane here, or just snag a turret if the enemy team tries to go for Dragon here, because if TWF goes for Dragon and you have Herald and a couple people in a lane, you're probably going to be knocking on the base pretty damn quick.
You know, that's Void Might diff there. Really effective at being able to take down those towers, although they will be summoning Rift Herald in mid lane. TP being channeled. I believe this is Quality Player coming to try to defend the mid lane, but might just be too late here. Uh-oh, the Rift Herald going in the wrong direction.
Hey.
Kitu. Oh, that's
People
a
are
tough
so
one.
angry
That's a
for
heartbreaker right there. This Rift Herald's going to die without charging.
Yeah, no, don't worry. We're all still making that mistake right now.
It's
kinda
tough,
weak.
dude. It's like you immediately
Sure.
have to click it. It takes so long to channel getting on. And now trying to make something happen here. Kitu does land the Chains of Corruption, getting something out of this, and it's going to be another kill to Sourcewalker. Look at
What
them
a
just
clean
running through the
reset.
fight now. Viscaria, the only one low, and they just do not care. Sourcewalker flashing out, wants to avoid getting feasted down, and now the fight's turned on its head. Lee Sinners and BMW leading the charge joust. He's tanky, but he can't survive forever. Viscaria trying to help out his top laner. Midnight dives in with the shuffle backwards, and that's going to be a kill onto Zakama. No more threat of the feast means that Omega Gaming can just run through the fight. 2 more kills into their pockets, a double to Kitu.
Ooh, that is spooky. That's going to be, what, a 4 for 2? No, a 4 for 1 in the end. For the Omega Goobers here, they're going to put themselves on soul point as well. I know the gold lead doesn't really show it here, like, okay, yeah, it's 4 to 9 in kills. But they're snowballing. Like, you got this Azir starting to really scale up. This E now sitting on 1.5 items. You got that soul point here as well. That's going to be so vital for pressure later on. Like, you can just instigate the Baron for the enemy's first dragon trade, or keep forcing fights like this, because this E for Sourcewalker is getting these resets in these fights, Gordo, and that is such a nightmare if you're not able to keep this E locked in one place for too long.
Yeah, and they had their one quick moment there. Zakuma was melee range with him with Feast up, cannot find the bite, and he spends the whole fight looking for a snack. He can't find a single one, ends up dying with Feast still up, and at that point, Omega are just no longer afraid of anything in the fight, and they're willing to play it out front to back.
As once again, though, we're entering a bit of calm on the Rift. All too familiar. A lot of farming.
Little bit of chill time until that next dragon. That's going to be a big deal, though, as Omega find themselves already on Soul Point. Lee Sinners gets a little bit of a pinch here onto Viscaria. The lockdown from Helper. This is going to be a kill to the winning formula. They get themselves at least one back.
You have this 4-0 Syndra, who does also scale pretty well. Not as hard as the Azir, mind you, but once you get the full stacks of Splinters of Wrath there, you really just start popping people, and you got quite the selection to pop here on the enemy team. Of course, if there is a Braum wall, that is going to damper your excitement for trying to one-shot a squishy on the back line. But a kill is a kill here, and a 2-item Syndra is going to be doing a lot of damage.
It definitely will be. Completing the Shadow Flame second here. A little bit different of a look than last season with that item. Still feeling like that's plenty powerful. I'm surprised to not see a Storm Surge here. Might be Storm Surge third now, as it's been a little bit nerfed, but I was under the understanding that item was still pretty busted.
I don't know. It's like what, 3 nerfs now? I think there's the initial hotfix to it, then in... Oh wait, oh yeah. I think it's just been 2 nerfs. Either way though, item was insane. Definitely has dropped off though, since they heavily nerfed the damage, thank God.
Yeah. I do think it's kind of like, it's kind of one choice or the other between the two, or maybe you could combine them, I'm not sure, but it's kind of, one of them gives you the extra burst damage if you deal at least 30% damage. The Shadow Flame executes, gives you execute damage when they're below 35. So 30 to 35, the magic number either way. It's just about whether you're getting that extra damage on the front or the back end.
Oh,
ooh. A little bit of a stun landed onto Viscaria, but just tanking it on up pretty effectively with that locket and just shrugs it off like it doesn't even matter.
Yeah, with that finished locket, you also got the Merc Treads here. Rocking the Guardian. Gives you a lot of extra juice in the tank. That said, though, it does help that Viscaria was stunned closer towards their turret. Definitely made things easier for running on away, and gonna be returning to a bit of a lull in the action here. Minute 40-ish till Dragon Baron has been up, but I don't think either of these teams are going to be really looking to try and sneak that here. That would be a very tall order and very risky, especially when the game is this neck and neck.
Yeah, I do think the winning formula is a good Baron team. You know, they have the 2 marksmen, and Ashe pretty good at Baroning as well with that Kraken Slayer completed. The Cho'Gath going to give you a lot of safety towards your ability to actually be able to secure it. It just takes so dang long. That's the thing about 20-minute Barons in Season 14, is that it takes you a really long time to do. They've just made them so tanky. So it's going to take them a long time to be able to finish it off. And at the very least, it's the Hunting Baron, so it's a little bit easier to work on. You don't quite pinch yourself the way you do with the All-Seeing or the Territorial Barons. But still, it's not going to be something that the winning formula want to go for at this stage.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't keep track of the Baron names. There's OG, there's Extra Wall, and then there's Tunnel.
Yeah. Well, this is OG. OG is the Hunting Baron, and he's made his first appearance here. I never get the Hunting Baron. I get All-Seeing Baron, the one with the tunnel, every damn game.
I've been getting this one mostly. I will admit, though, Baron does look scary now, but I kind of miss the first Baron redesign they had. Because that one's been around for, I think it was from Season 4 up until now, Season 14.
Yeah, he's the oldest Baron for sure. I'm just surprised that the 3 Barons don't look any different. Like, I'm very surprised they're not, like, different colors, or they have slightly different physical features or something. They just all look the same.
Yeah, oh, fight breaking out here.
still Viscaria, just willing to frontline and tank up everything. The Unbreakable doing a lot of work, and now Joust can fill that role pretty effectively as well. He's a 2-item tank Maokai. He's got quite a bit of magic resist, quite a bit of health, and he's willing to just absorb all of this. The raw damage output not quite there for the winning formula yet until they're willing to full commit, and it's just such a risk to use all your bursty damage from something like your Syndra and your Graves when you've got that Yi to worry about. Joust getting poked a little bit lower, but they're already moving over towards the dragon. This would be Soul for Omega.
Yeah, you do got to get into that pit, but this Maokai making it very difficult from Joust. Still got a bit of time to work with on that dragon, but you got to get here ASAP. You're not going to get that time, though.
Looking for the engage. The frontliners just trying to buy some extra time. A huge engage from Helper. Locks down 2 members. Midnight dives forward, shuffles them back, and it's all on Sourcewalker to try to come alive with this fight. But Sakuma flashing in, looking for Key2 as the rest of the carries have already fallen. Key2 has got to keep his line strong, but Sakuma hits him with the Rupture. It takes him down with one more auto. This is going to be a dragon going over to the winning formula. No soul to be found this time unless Joust can pull off a miracle. Nobody hit that Baron until we're done with the tree. It might take a while, and it's not over yet. Joust still buying time, looking for the steal, cannot get it with one scat of the week. Quality player gets it all.
Whew, okay, definitely on a nice edge there towards the end. Because you saw just how long it was getting stalled out to get that dragon there. And I thought the winning formula were just a bit dunzo from the start there, because you saw the engage come out from the Omega Goobers, just keeping that Graves, Leaf Centers 6 miles away, locked on down. That gives you enough time to focus down the dragon, but they're not able to get through the dragon quick enough here, Gordo. That gives them plenty of time on the winning formula to get on in, do a lot of damage. And now it's a 7-0 Syndra, which is such a scary prospect. Gonna have to deal with. Ooh.
Definitely. And that fight right there, that may have sold me on the Maokai top. Goferino is, hold on a second, Viscaria finding themselves in that old caught position again. Another landed Chains of Corruption means we can stop memeing about it now. I think he's at a solid 50%. He's batting 0.5. Give it to him. As he has managed.
I stopped keeping track after it was 37. I'm like, okay, all right.
I'm going to say around half. I'll give him the credit. Round it up, round it down. I don't care. But either way, that Maokai in that last fight got multiple procs of the Unending Despair. Stayed alive for so long, got multiple procs of the Sap Magic as well. This dude's healing so much. He is so near unkillable.
Yeah. Gonna need some Grievous Wounds here, buddy. But no Grievous Wounds quite yet, except for Helper's Ignite. And what do you know? After that electrifying fight, we're just back here. 2k goal differential. And Azure Turret falls, and people are farming silence.
There's Arcanic Rookern. Goferino, we found it. Built by Zakuma to round out the build. I do think this is where these two tanks are going to differ in their builds, is that, I don't even know what that component's called. The Go Fast health item does not build into Arcanic Rookern, so it must be building into something else.
Yeah, I forget the name of it. It's like, Winged Plate? Yeah,
Winged Moon Plate.
I thought of Moon Plate for a second, but I was like, Winged Plate? Really? In pants? Like, I don't know what the moon has to do with 5% move speed.
That's your flavor. It's a Lunari item, I guess. So it's got to have moon in the name, or lunar, or something like that.
I don't think any Lunari champions have move speed boosts. No, Diana doesn't. Aphelios. Actually, Aphelios is Targon.
He's Targon. He's Lunari too, though. I'm pretty sure. Targon. Lunari's a Targon faction. They're a Targonian faction. It's a set subset relationship.
Yeah, it's hard to keep track, like, because they just keep reworking the lore every time they release a new champion. Like, how the hell do we fit this little goober into the Runeterra lore?
Dude,
it doesn't help that they fired a lot of their writing staff in the recent layoffs. So
yeah, I'm so upset that they're reworking Skarner to make him something different. I'll get back to that later as Key2 getting a little bit caught in mid lane, uses the cleanse a little bit late, flashes away from collateral damage, and now a TP in from behind. This is going to be Jost looking for a big Nature's Grasp across the entire team. BMW already way too low, but Zakama devours Source Walker. There's going to be no Master Yi for the rest of this fight, and there's going to be nobody to stop Zakama from pushing back the remaining members. Jost now in too far, looking for an escape route, falling back to Midnight, but that's a double stun from Helper, and right on the screen freeze here, as this is not going to go well for Omega Gaming.
Oh, no, no, no. The question is, will Midnight be able to pop the ultimate here and get these members on a back off of Jost and Midnight here? Because if not, Helper's just going to go to town with their teammates on them, and terrible time. Terrible, terrible time. Have a bit of a pause here. Production
We'll take it to
hiccup.
cameras in a second, but get that mental picture in your minds so we can check out what's going on. This is our first time on cam all night, by the way, Gofrino. Welcome back, everybody. Did a little change in the run of show where we kept Slayer and Bonfire on for the draft. So welcome. Good to see everyone. Good to be joined by you.
Hello, gamers.
In our first pause, our first of many this season. There's online league pains coming through as always.
Yeah, I mean, even in the LAN leagues, like, we see pauses all the time.
True.
I think there's a bunch of pauses. I think opening week of LCS.
There's got to be like a ratio of the perfect amount of production quality to minimize pauses, because when you're in a remote league, people are pausing because they've got their own individual internet problems. You've got 10 times the chance to have an internet issue because all the players are playing from their homes. But if you go to really high production value, then you have stuff like Chrono Break available. So now, like, they're professional players, there's a lot on the line, and they will pause for the slightest bugs. So there's a sweet spot in there where these guys are going to stop pausing. We just got to figure out what it is.
Yeah. That or Riot just fixes the spectate client so we don't have to deal with this tirade here.
Let's not get crazy.
I mean, they don't even have to perfectly fix it. Just, like, address the major issues and then just add some extra stability and quality of life features to it. Like,
You want, like, the Chemtech dragon to have an icon?
it's
It's
been
ridiculous.
Like 4 years at this point, because they introduced it in season 10, I believe. Was it season 10 or season? It was season 10.
It was
I believe.
they introduced it, they got rid of it, they brought it back last season. So I think 2022 might have been its first. But yeah, it's never worked. I'll give you that much.
Yeah, I don't know. Either way, though, it tilts me, like, makes me.
I'm just waiting for them to bite the bullet and change dragons again. Like, it should be the same dragon for the whole game. Like, the fact that the first two dragons are like random rolls of other dragons is just this weird leftover mechanic from when they were random elemental drakes for the whole game. This doesn't make sense.
That, actually.
I don't know. It should be like, the first two should just be like some generic dragon that does the same thing every game.
Maybe. I don't know. But then they'd have to make yet another new dragon. I can do it. It does sound like, though, we have to send it to a break, though, while we sort this all out.
Yeah, classic spectator client. So we're going to take a quick break. We will be back as soon as possible with the rest of game number 1. We'll see you all pretty soon.
Welcome back, gamers. Unfortunately, I'm assuming you guys weren't expecting myself
They don't want to
bonfire.
see us.
Yeah, I didn't want to see us either for once, actually.
Uh,
Um, Unfortunate update, guys, is the Riot spectate bug. There's a new one that I believe has been plaguing. It might not be new, but at least I haven't seen very often. Where all spectating
I wonder if do you think they can hear me?
no, so it was the Discord. Yeah, it was the Discord. Okay, so I don't know how far I got into that
Not
state.
far, not far.
All right, here's the TLDR, folks. There was a spectate bug that's been plaguing League of Legends right now. Basically, everything froze. Nobody could get back in once the freeze happened. The game is already over, and despite the fact where we were at the game, it was not actually the winning formula that came out on top. So the Omega Gaming Goobers get the first win of our series as we are as scuffed as possible to start out Mythical League. All we could give you guys is the post-game graphs gold. We can take a look at how this thing all finished. The force of nature as well. So my bet is that he just itemized super well to deal with quality player, and the winning formula, they kind of were leaning on quality player to always kind of win them fights, at least where we were at in the game. And you couldn't kill him, couldn't kill that Maokai, set up the rest of the team to win here. But here's the thing that I want to throw out to everybody. We talked about Fearless, and you can see below us now, all these champions are grayed out. So keep in mind, though, that these are only respective to each side, right? So this is the winning formula. They can't play any of these champions, but that doesn't mean that we couldn't see somebody over there on a mega gaming Goobers. If they wanted to pull out a Syndra game, they could. If they wanted to take the Graves, they could, and vice versa, right? So shout out to the production team here, all the graphical designers at Risen. It's not the most complex thing, but it is the first kind of thing I've seen for anybody doing Fearless Draft, like reminding people at home which champions aren't going to be available going forward.
Yeah, and there are some big names as well. Noah Zier, I think, really sticks out to me the most for OMG because the Azir had a pretty big impact in that game. No Varus as well. Both of those pretty big picks throughout this season. So it'll be interesting to see. Obviously, you don't need to ban those two. And so if you are the winning formula, we've had the discussion before. When you see a really good game on one champion, do you ban it the next game? With Fearless, you don't need to do that. You don't need to be concerned about that anymore. So I'm just curious to see what the bans are going to be like for both of these teams. No Ash is something to keep an eye about for the winning formula. But I will say, I don't feel like the Ash really was that fantastic. If I'm being perfectly honest, I just think got negated really hard by a lot of the front line.
Well, yeah, you're gonna have to sit up
I
bonfire.
know. Lean
Don't get
back
too close.
chair.
Don't get too close to the camera there with your big old noggin. We are officially back
Whoa!
into game to draft here, and as you can see, the champions that are unavailable are directly below our giant heads, and we do have the winning formula staying on blue side. So they will be on blue side. Their bands are very similar. And the point I wanted to make was that Lee Sinners and Source Walker had both of their pocket pick junglers utilized in game number one. So where do they go here? Well, the winning formula certainly believe that the correct algorithm to their victory will still be Mr. Lee Sinners on a carry-oriented jungler. The Xin Zhao is very, very strong right now. Love that pick as well. And I'm just gonna let Bonfire talk about this hover.
Yeah, I don't like it. I don't like the Ezreal here, and I'm not saying that to meme on you because I know you're a big
Oh,
Ezreal
okay.
fan.
I thought you were memeing on me.
No, I think into a Xin Zhao, you're really going to struggle to get damage onto him with a Crescent Guard. So, and once the Xin Zhao gets on top of you, you can obviously E away. But if you get hit by his W, you're still going to be slowed. So, I think that the Ezreal could struggle here into a Xin Zhao. It's a potential opportunity, or it's potentially could be something to keep an eye on. I also think this Jax, we don't know where it's going to go. Normally, you'd see a Jax and you go, well, it's a top lane Jax. But Jax has seen quite a lot of uh, time in the jungle. So is it a jungle Jax? Vi is still available if they want to pick Vi. She's an S tier champion. Nocturne is still available if they want to pick Nocturne. They had success with a tank top, so they could, put the Jax in the jungle if they want. There's a lot of different angles for OMG, and I think they're in a good position right now. Other than the Ezreal pick, which I'm not too savvy on.
Yeah, well, I understand it. He is all skill shot dependent, and a lot of those skill shots are from outside Crescent Guard range. And as Ezreal, you never want to be close. You never really want to be in the range of Crescent Guard with any champion, to be honest with you. You want
Yeah,
to
that's
be
true.
further back unless you are for sure that you're going to get a kill picked up here. Seems like both these teams are now switching up their style. They're going real carry oriented, not as much big beefy front line. And while we are only 3 picks into the draft, both top laners who played purebred tanks are now likely, like you talked about the Jax, going for their bruising counterparts here. The Aatrox, also very strong and viable and picked up there. Orianna isn't as strong as like your Corki, your Azir, but I still think Orianna, you know what you're getting with her. So we'll see quality player onto that Orianna. Similar style play to Syndra. So I'm curious to see if we do get a game three, what quality player will pull out. Because Syndra Oriana are two very similar style champions. Kind of with and their fearless might end up handicapping quality player, but that's way down the line here as we have the Udyr locked in, and Bonfire can validate himself that I think that's a Jax jungle. I don't think that's Udyr jungle.
No, Udyr hasn't been in the jungle for a bit now, and it's just been very strong because it's a tank top laner, clears waves very quickly, and it's just an absolute menace to go against. So it's seen a ton of play really in every professional league at this point. If you're not running it in solo queue as a tank top player, what are you doing? It is very, very strong right now. Probably the best tank top laner in the champion pool that you can grab. So I like it. I think it's strong. I think it's good. It's going to help with the Aatrox, having so much kill pressure in the lane, and it means you just get to throw your circle of doom out at the minions and walk away and not have to deal with Aatrox, which is really fantastic. And it means that you can weak side. And interestingly enough, we talked about it last draft. Ezreal used to be a weak side AD carry. You could just leave him on an island and not worry about him. But with those new changes, kind of a carry AD carry now. I mean, it really is. You want to give this Ezreal resources, and so it gives this Jax an opportunity to get this Ezreal fed.
You hear that, everybody at home? If you're in my game, solo queue,
I'm in his
Slayer,
games.
Slayer, I have a little accent all over the E. Junglers, give me resources when I pick my Ezreal, all right? I enjoy weak siding, but I also enjoy kills. So enough about me, though. I am glad to see, though, Bonfire. I know it's been kind of, growing pains adjusting to Fearless. Both these teams have not accidentally banned a champion in a way that would technically not be allowed on the other side. They have recognized that very, very well. And with a couple of bans coming across, we see the Galio and the Nautilus. So some mid pressure coming across, but the Omega Gaming Goobers are going to roll with the Nico, and that's always a fun one to watch since she rose to her prevalence.
Yeah, and look, I understand the Nico. I think that the Nico can have an opportunity to do some great work. I'm slightly concerned the Nico doesn't have a ton of follow up slash another champion to really help her out with it. So I think that if you are relying as Nico to be your main engage, they're going to struggle. Rel's still on the board if they want to take that and grab that for their support. You could still go. Well, Leo's going to be banned out or get picked out, but something of that sort. I just think that
Oh, it
you
should
need
be
something.
Melia.
I think you need something along with Nico, as Emilio's not a bad shout either,
I think Aphelios Melio is a top 3 bottom lane to play right now in the meta.
or
I think
Renata.
or Renata. I've seen a lot of Aphelios Emilio do very, very well. So I would have been a fan of that. I don't hate that you want to opt for a bigger tank. And oh, look at this. We're
Also
gonna
good.
see one of those fearless utilizations here. We're gonna see a swap. So Braum, yeah, I would if you asked me which champion both teams would play in this best of 3, it would have taken me 100 champions to land on Braum.
Double
So
Braum. Yeah, that's interesting. Bard. See, OMG, I can't really talk too much because they won their first game and we were harsh on their draft. I'm going to be harsh on their draft again, though. I'm struggling to understand where their engage is here. I mean, I guess it's a disengage comp, but your only really main source of CC is Jax landing a counter strike on multiple people or a great Nico ultimate. Other than that, I guess poke with an Ezreal Bard and some Nico poke, but I don't know. It's just gonna. I think that Jax wants to hop in. Nico wants to get a big ult off, but how are they going to do that when they don't really have like a Nautilus, a Rel, a Galio, somebody of that sort to really start the fight off? And that's my biggest concern because this Aphelios, if you don't get on this Aphelios, bad things are going to happen.
yep. And if you let this game go long, OMG, this game is going to be very, very rough for you. It's definitely a game for the Omega Gaming Goobers that they need to find some sort of mid power spiking. I obviously like where Ezreal is as an Ezreal player right now, but he's still, I don't think he will not ever be able, he should never, Riot, be able to go toe to toe into the Felios later in games. He is all about 3-item power spiking and ending games pre 20, 30 minutes, right? So that's what Omega Gaming Goobers are going to look to do here. The Bard solidifies that. I think the Nico solidifies that because at a point, yes, the Pop Blossoms are going to be nice, but they're not going to blow somebody up anymore later in the game. They're just going to be that CC that you, like you talked about, isn't a lot of follow up for. So Orianna is always going to be able to scale up and have a lot of hard scaling damage along with the Aphelios. So it's the old analogy of the ticking time bomb here for Omega Gaming Goobers. They're going to have some early pressure in early lanes, and I'm kind of hard pressed to figure out what lane that would be unless we have jungle Praya.
Yeah, I mean, bot's gonna have push for OMG. Ezreal Bard's, always gonna beat out Nephelios Braum early on. So you're gonna have bot push if you want to potentially go for a Jax dive attempt. On the other side of things, your Udyr's always gonna get pushed in. So it's the ebb and flow of league, right? You've got a pushing top and then a weak side of another area, and so on and so on. Um, it'll be interesting to see where both of these junglers decide to path. I think also I'm glad you talked about the Orianna scaling up. I think where Orianna doesn't scale as well and struggles is when there's not really a quote unquote ball delivery system. This Zin's out will be that ball delivery system.
Oh yeah.
So I do think that you're right. This Orianna will not struggle to scale because you're always going to have an opportunity to land big shockwaves if you're succinct with your jungler.
I'm curious to see if a fun little interaction will happen with Lee Sinner as a quality player. So obviously Crescent Guard, if you're not challenging an
Oh, you
opponent,
push them away,
you
yeah.
push them away. So what if Lee Sinners jumps onto one of these tanks and then you shockwave, and then because you shockwave, you brought them all Zinzao, one of them is gonna end up behind him, and then you crescent guard and throw them into your team. And if that
Whoa.
if that's the Ezreal or the Nico, that is a really, really fancy way to get a pick at the start of a
If
fight.
that ever happens, I will shave and get a mullet. That I will commit to because that is a crazy hypothetical what if. It's a cool
Well,
look,
it could
I like
work.
the it could.
Theoretically, it could work, right?
Look, if you've seen Oppenheimer, theory will only take you so far.
You've
Uh,
you've been making that joke for
since it
like
came out.
6 months.
Yeah, since it came out. It's a great movie. By the way, nominated for Best Picture. Um,
I could
I
I could have told you a 3-year-old could have told you Oppenheimer would be nominated for Best Picture,
True.
man.
It is Oscar bait. It is maybe the most Oscar bait movie of all time. I will commit to that though. This is Boy Scouts honor.
Were you even a
If
Boy Scout?
no, I was not. I if a Xin Zhao goes in Shockwave, we'll call it the pulse. Because a pulse is like a heartbeat
Okay.
almost.
Yeah, yeah.
But if they do a pulse, if they boom, boom, bring them in and then push them all out, and it zinsects someone towards the team,
Synsex.
I will shave the sides of my head and get a full on mullet. That is my commitment to
I have I've never I hope Matt and like Cole and all the Divide admin
you
team
clip this.
are listening. I've never wished ever that a team was cheating and watching the broadcast more than this moment. Because I would love to see
They're a game behind. Do you think they really want to potentially in their week one game just to see what the me with a mullet?
I don't know, man. You with a mullet would look
It would look crazy. You're
it
not
would look
wrong.
crazy. It would look crazy. We are a decline side draft here. So soon or later we'll be able to get a look at how some of these like rune choices and summer choices may come out for some of these champions. Or excuse me, players. Um we do have some interesting different lanes though. I know we talked about the fact that especially for Source Walker, you're gonna have to create some sort of jungle pressure. And I'm also curious to see how Joust and Zokoma look on in a very different matchup. I guess Udyr can play similarly to Maokai in a way. That you're kind of just like standing in the middle of your opponent trying to out sustain him. But this time the problem is, I know I talked about Zokoma. He had a great lane for just Cho'Gath being able to scale up and be a threat as like the tank. This is the lane where Jost really needs to shut down Zokoma because you cannot just let an Aatrox kind of just farm up, hit item points, and he'll actually be a menace in fights later on.
Yeah, and I'm glad you brought that up because we haven't really touched on the Aatrox a lot. I think there's a lot of other parts of the team comp that's interesting to look at and theorize about. But this Aatrox cannot go under the radar for anybody. It's the classic the shy against G2 where they're like, Aatrox 1, all right, that wasn't that much damage. Aatrox Q2, all right, it started to hurt. Oh my god, Aatrox Q3. Like you cannot let Aatrox get all 3 Qs on you, or your health bar will get depleted. So if Zokomo goes under the radar, like you said, if Jost doesn't do a great job of keeping him away, that could be well and truly the breaking point, which would bring TWF back into the series and send us to a game 3, which a game 3 on Fearless is always a fun one because at that point, that's 10 champions you can't use.
Yep. 10 whole champions here.
Plus five
It's
that are banned. So
5 that are
15
banned.
champions.
Yeah. Imagine doing Fearless in season 5, by the way. You might just run out of champions in a best of 5, like literally.
Have
How
to
many
go
ch-
Teemo.
yeah, how many champions are there in League of Legends now? I mean like 140
147,
something? Like
52, something around there. It's actually a
something
good
around.
question. I'll look that up. You keep talking. I'll look that up.
Yeah, but because mathematically, Fearless Draft, even a full best of 5, like you won't ever run out of champions. But if this were a lot of seasons ago, I'm getting where it's 170 something. Wow, we're
Wow.
really high up there.
167.
167,
Wow.
geez. So yeah, I mean, mathematically, you're not ever going to run out of champions of Fearless, but it'll still make it fun. Fun little quirky question for you, Bonfire. Over under Nico pranks. Nico prank plot blossoms. Do you think Midnight's going to pull off? I'll set the line at 1.5. Do you think?
One and
Do
a
you think?
half.
Do you think the winning
Do
formula is
they
going to fall for it more than once?
and it has to be an ultimate alongside it
It's got to be like a minion, like Midnight's a minion or like a ward.
and land either a root or an ultimate?
Yeah, like lands. Yeah, I'll say ultimate. I'll give you like a big
Ultimate
pop
specific.
blossoms.
Oof, ultimate's hard. I'd say under. I think that you
Okay,
land one because here's the thing. There's a lot of times you go into the prank form, you throw your root out, you get your damage across. But landing a full pop blossom like that is hard because they're looking for it. I'll go one. I think they land one this game. What about you?
I'll go 2 just to spite you.
You go two just to spite
Just
me.
to spite you. Yeah,
Oh my goodness.
yeah.
I can
You,
see it happening.
you know what will be different about this game though? I will say is I know a lot of we were talking about
Is
we were
that
ve-
Brahma's teleport? Oh.
I didn't see that part. That is also definitely true. I was gonna say the fact that Xin Zhao and Jax definitely are gonna be more active early on in the game, right? They just need to get level 3 and they will look for gank paths for sure. So we won't have as much of a snooze early game as we talked about last time. We do get to go through these runes though. I mean, this is pretty standard across the board for an Aatrox and an Udyr going tank.
I imagine we'll get a lethal tempo Jax, probably a Conquer or a lethal tempo Zinzao. Conquer Zinzao, lethal tempo Jax,
Ooh, they're
and
both
then
going inspiration tree.
let's see if I can guess the mid lane. I'll go
Oriana versus
Dark
Nico.
Harvest, Nico,
Okay.
and Oriana. I'll go I don't know. I don't know.
I'm going
Maybe
Airy
you go
Electrocute.
area. I could
Airy
see area.
Electrocute.
Well, you have to choose one.
No, Electrocute for Nico.
Oh, for Nico? Okay, I'll go electrocute for Orion. I think Nico might go for the big Pop Blossom Dark Harvest pops.
I
Oh,
mean, we should be fired.
you went it was the opposite. It was
Well, I did
well
say
no, it's
Phase
no, that's
Rush.
Phase Rush. Never mind that dialogue. Phase Rush.
That
Interesting.
it's always a good pick on Oriana if you want to go
Yeah.
more defensive. Airy on Nico, I'm not very familiar with your game, but you're
I mean, I
playing.
guess just poke with the autos because you get the empowered autos, I suppose.
Yeah, you
But
get it off any ability, really.
yeah, but I don't know. I'm kind of with you because Ares really good with shielding as well. So you're not gonna get that with the Nico. I'm with you on that. That's weird.
Aphelios, I'd assume, is lethal tempo. Ezreal would be Conqueror.
Ezreal's in a weird place with those new buffs because there's a lot more AP now on Ezreal's damage kit.
Yeah,
I could see
I,
Dark Harvest. I
I,
would not be surprised for Dark Harvest.
I'd be very,
Is
very
that
surprised.
blasphemous? Is that blasphemous?
That's kind of blasphemous. Yeah,
Okay.
Fleet. Okay, Fleet.
Yeah, Fleet,
Conqueror is definitely the go all for Ezreal. Both of these AD carries also taking the inspiration tree just for added bonus. A lot of sustainability for this Ezreal with the boots and the biscuits. I'm always a fan of going mana full ban on Ezreal, but that's also kind of hyper aggressive because you're just cutting yourself off from saving yourself gold and
But
biscuits.
you build a tier later as well. So
You do, but mana full ban is just goaded if you can
yeah,
continuously hit skill shots in lane.
it's true. And then what's the last one? Braum versus
Bard,
God,
Bard, Bard.
Bard. Bard will go.
Guardian for Braum.
It is
Fleet.
Fleet. I was gonna say Fleet. I actually genuinely was gonna say Fleet. I've been playing more Bard. You run in, you get your one auto off and you dip.
Yeah, I mean, Fleet always just also gives you bonus sustain, so
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
you
Yeah.
can never
Interesting.
go wrong with it. Certainly is going to be a lot different of a game compared to game number one. I feel I would expect to be a lot more skirmishes in this one versus. It felt like we didn't even really get a skirmish last game. It was just straight team fight. I mean, first blood was with what 8 people at Void Grubs. I
I
wouldn't
think
call
it
it a
was
skirmish.
it's like 11 minutes into the game we got first blood.
Yeah.
That last game was very slow and it started to heat up. So I'm hoping that this one there's a little bit more early on, but we'll have to see. Look, it's an exciting game. It's game 2 and TWF are on the brink. So they got to win this one or it's over.
All right, Helper. Let's see what your Braum teleport tech looks like. And without further ado, let's throw it back, hopefully, to a full game of League of Legends on our familiar battle arena. Gordo, go for Reno. Good luck going through this one. Hopefully, fully through.
Don't you dare jinx us like that, Slayer. So we are getting into game number 2. The winning formula taking on Omega Gaming Goobers. Very excited to see what we are going to end up with in this second game of the day. And hopefully, not to jinx us again, but going to be the full way through this time. I want to just repeat exactly what Slayer said here. I am really excited, Go Farino, to see Zakuma on something a little bit more carry-oriented, as it really seems like TWF in game number 1 were very comfortable just recalling, sending support top over and over again. And now on some sort of carry champion like this Aatrox, I think that's going to be a lot more effective.
Yeah. Yeah, it does also help that it's against the Udyr. Not as tanky as the Maokai. Definitely still tanky. And Kedu, Viscaria, they did this last game too. The word going to catch them out here. Going to be a little sussy too. If Helper and BMW want to go for this, Philios level 1. Not the strongest because you don't even have your ability yet, but it is also Braum level 1. But it is also Bard level 1, so could get dicey here. I don't think we're going to see anything too aggressive. I'm just expecting Helper and BMW to just throw out some abilities here and go, hey, we know you're here, buddy. How you take a chill pill?
Very possible.
Ooh.
Viscaria going to land a nice little Cosmic Binding to start things off, though. Can't really follow up on that too hard with the Ezreal duo, but I do like Bard and Ezreal as a duo. Really enables the Bard to go roam around as much as possible. I don't think Kitu has to be too worried about ending up in a 1 versus 2 against these two folks. These two nice fellows from the winning formula. Should be able to just keep his distance, farm with the Mystic shots and do just fine.
Yeah, especially there is no threat of the Phalios Gravitum coming on out. which there shouldn't be, unless you're on Sniper, Sniperium, Greenium.
Should we talk about... It's Calibrum, by the way, but...
I'm gonna forget that, but thank you.
Anytime.
I
We
always forget
could...
the Ornn items too, like, oh, they upgraded Leandri's. It's like, actually that's Burning Regret. It's like, I am not going to remember that, I'm sorry.
Yeah, so should we bite the bullet and talk about the elephant in the room here, Gopherino? There's teleport on Helper's Braum here. I guess he is fully commit. I mean, it could be a misclick, but that's not exciting to talk about. So let's theorize the real purpose instead. It could really be to enable those topside ganks, right? You can come up top, you can help out Zakuma, you can still show up to bot lane, not abandon BMW for too long on that Aphelios. That's all I got.
I was thinking it more in terms of like Prio, like when you saw AD carries take teleport 24/7, like it's just so you can take these cheeky backs and come back to lane without losing Prio. Or maybe it's to turret. That's what I was thinking it was like. I have personally never seen a TP Braum. I swear, I've seen another support take TP before. It definitely wasn't Braum or like an engage support.
I've seen Bruisers paired with Senna take TP. You know, like
That's
the Tom
different.
Kench.
They're not the support though.
Fair. But I've seen that.
Yeah. I'm trying to think. Because I know I've seen it, but I won't spend too much longer thinking about it. Once again, though, pretty calm early game thing. All things considered.
What about like old school Tarek Sona, where they were both supports? You can see one of them taking TP.
Maybe? Because you can't run 2 heals.
No.
I mean, you can, but you get the decreased value.
Yeah. Ooh, nice little Cosmic Binding landed on Elite Sinners. They're not going to do too much for Kitu and Viscaria, especially with Kitu running pretty low on mana here. He's going to have to be looking to get back and get that Tear of the Goddess before too long. Probably going to be a Mana Moon Ezreal. That is pretty stock standard as far as most of the builds go. And Zakuma having a time in this top lane so far, by the way. He's got a sizable CS lead, and Joust is not going to be able to equalize this off of just this wave. And now just trading in the wave behind a level does not feel very good for him right now, and he's going to take some big Darkened Blades there. I think that could have been a flash Q3.
It would have been tricky. Like, you're only seeing on the Doran shield right now in the game. It wouldn't be the biggest impact.
Here is the play. Here is Helper on the first recall, wandering up the top lane to guarantee they secure Void Grubs. He's not going to be able to get the actual gank onto Jost this time, but should be pretty easy for them to secure the Grubs. Source Walker is coming up. He might be too late. Midnight does have access to that ultimate, wandering up as a minion. They're going to try to focus onto him. Here he comes with the Pop Blossom, going to land it on a 2. Zakuma manages to dive away. Quality player arrives to the action, but still level 5.
You get all
No
3.
Void Grub's going to go over to Omega, and First Blood will go over to Midnight.
Definitely a bit of a future investment. Flashing back in for that Grub from Lee Sinners. I know that's a little weird to say since
Woo! Woo!
Grubs are technically the lower scaling of the 2 early game objectives between that and Dragon, but getting 3 now means you only have to get 2 later to some of those little Voidlings. And do get First Blood a couple minutes earlier than last game. Helper not even teleporting back.
I mean, keeping it for the future, man. Waiting for it to unleash. Sourcewalker probably going to be disappointed he didn't get to those Grubs first, though. I think doing the Grubs is one of those things that the Jungle Jax is just so good at. Gets so many autos blocked with the Counter-Strike off those little mites. He just gets the full double damage Counter-Strike, like right off the bat. Gets to hit all 3 of them with that double damage Counter-Strike before the shields come through. It's very good.
Then you also block a lot of damage.
Oh, yeah.
That's another big thing. Roam to the mid lane here. Because the Grubs are down, Dragon is on the table. Last game we saw the trade of the Grubs for the Dragon. This time both junglers were in the area. Of course, TWF were the ones able to secure all 3 because they were there first. Able to get to flashing in to secure the last was Lee Sinners. Also giving out First Blood though to this Nico in the mid lane, Midnight. Sitting on that extra amp tome thanks to the First Blood. Coincidentally, that does cost 400 gold now, which is how much you get for First Blood. 2, 3. All right.
Another nice trade there for Zakuma. Starting to see the effects of that CS lead he's got for himself. He's got the tunneler already completed, while Jost is just running around with components. They are equal in the TP game. Zakuma getting a nice little engage here. That's the double W from Joust, which is going to affect his ability to trade back here. He does absorb a fair bit of the damage, but it's just going to keep getting poked out lower and lower by the Aatrox. I think this is... There's definitely ways to play around it as the Udyr, as this champion is supposed to just be absolutely broken. But if you don't have all of the techniques 100% down, the Aatrox does seem to be one of the better matchups into it.
Which is kind of funny because like Udyr is like a fully melee champion with no dashes, so in theory, easy to line up for the Qs there if you are Zeku. But
Definitely.
other than that though, Dragon does go down here. Goobers able to grab that one. And yeah, this is going to be a little bit of chilling here on the Rift, unless Zoku, let's go for this.
Yeah, quality player, a little bit of a CS lead in mid as well, feeling pretty good there, and has been pretty good at being able to keep the wave shoved in as well. It's really unlocking Lee Sinner's opportunities to be able to go in and steal objectives, and stealing the red buff right here. Sourcewalker does not seem to be aware of this. This red buff going to be long gone by the time he gets here, and Lee Sinner should be able to just go back and take his own as well. Going to be a nice little advantage to the Xin Zhao found here. Viscaria coming up too, but just too late. Doesn't notice it in time.
Ooh, and had Viscaria kept pathing downwards, might have been able to land Cosmic Binding there. Does eat a 3-talent strike for the troubles. Alright.
Yeah, little chunk there. Now feeling very confident. Going in on a midnight. Nice shockwave found by quality player. Pop Blossom forced out. They don't manage to land. The wind becomes lightning, but they don't need to. Helper going to be able to come away with the kill credit.
Able to grab that one on up. This Bard not level 6. So no Tempered Fate to put the chill pill in the mid lane. That's a good return kill for the winning formula. See what they're able to do with it. Looks like it's going to be securing a 6 grub this game. 6 grub can be a little nasty.
That would have been dope if Kitu was on the winning formula and that True Shot Barrage hit Joust, but now fight breaking out. Dive in from Lee Sinner, seeing that low health Udyr, but how tanky is he going to be? There's going to be Sourcewalker pulled back away, chunked out so low, and the first kill for Zakuma, and a reset on the World Ender to back it up. Meanwhile, BMW finding a solo kill in the bottom lane with the red and white guns across the board. It's a win for the winning formula.
Ooh, yeah, that I feel it was can just be so insane. Like, yeah, he's a scaling champion, but it's 200 years for a damn reason. Like, you're able to do so much dumb stuff as this champion sometimes. Able to get that 1v1 here against the Ezreal, who is busy stacking up the tier. And now, 4-1 is the score line. Got yourself a decent gold lead. You can see the gold differential on screen. Everybody rocking a little bit of a gold lead to a noticeable one.
Viscaria looking for more, but Helper's already here. Midnight coming around on the side. This might be a 1-for-1 if BMW can't keep his distance. No blocking able to be produced by Helper. One more auto with the Shape Splitter will go through, will pick up the kill on the BMW, and will get a little bit back for Midnight.
Yeah, although there's a Void Grub there for some reason. When Formula able to spawn that, because I think you can only spawn those around enemy turrets. Oh well. Good return kill though from the Goobers. Be able to get an extra plate here on this bot side. Gonna be a nice little return of gold going into Ketu's pocket after they did not get an assist for that kill.
Ooh, that was a double E used by Jost there. Zakuma not gonna have the Darkened Blade up quite yet, so not gonna be able to have too big of an opportunity to punish, but just keeping an eye on this lane as the lead just kind of continues to build up for Zakuma. Even better now that they have the Sundered Sky completed to nothing done for Jost. He is in a really unenviable position here. It's going to be very difficult for him to keep safe in this lane without some help from Sourcewalker, and even Sourcewalker has to be concerned about that as well. So he could get turned around on with the World Ender pretty easily.
Yeah, that is kind of one of the things that sucks about facing something like an Aatrox who's kind of ahead in lane. It's like, you have to get the Bramble Pest. Like, you kind of have to. but you know you're not gonna rush the Thorn Mail, so you're just kind of stuck sitting on this item, which helps you a lot in lane, but doesn't get you to that first nice first item power spike. It's just gonna feel really bad here as this Udyr for Jost.
Second dragon coming up here in about 30 seconds and already setting up for it. Our Omega getting a nice chunk onto Lee Sinners there. That is going to be the first step in this process of trying to secure themselves the stacking as they did in game number 1. And that did eventually lead them to victory. Don't quite know if they ended up with the soul at the end of the day or not there, but got to assume that they did. Is Pop Blossom going to connect on a quality player up too far? Just saw his jungler get forced out and gets caught with his pants down. Another kill to Omega, and this should be a safely secured second dragon off that pick.
Yep, unless we see a steal coming out, but right now we have Lee Sinners. Actually, Lee Sinners is walking towards the area. But this should be one for the Goobers here. Yeah, you can see Lee Sinners going back up to the winning formulas. Topside jungle here. It is only the second dragon. It isn't like it's soul point. Decently early second dragon though. So, and it's gonna be a Hex Tech soul again. Gonna have to make sure you don't give that one on over.
Definitely a big threat there. Kitu, despite the solo kill earlier on, doing a solid job in this bottom lane, has the Essence Reaver completed first. He's going to just continue farming on up, continue to keep up pressure of the bottom lane. You got to be a lot more concerned about BMW getting some alone time with that tower now. He's got the full 6 grubs. If you could somehow secure first turret here as Omega, that would be a lot of kind of catch up to make up for the fact that you're losing these grubs, as you're going to be giving up so much tower pressure. And Jost still trying to trade in that top lane. You can see how tough it is for him, though, on these items. Lee Sinner throwing down that Crescent Guard, trying to keep himself safe. Sourcewalker pulled back in by the Shockwave and going to get taken down. Just the damage in this 2v2 is just so superior for the Xin Zhao. The 2v2 King comes up with another one.
And there's no Pop Blossom available for Midnight in that fight, so you're just down in ultimate. Garya gonna get out of that one, but... Oh, and that's right before Rift Herald too. Like, I understand the sentiment there, but I think Sourcewalker just going in way too aggressive there. I don't know if they and Midnight were on the same page, like, hey, I don't have Pop Blossom here for that huge finish off damage, or just picking up both these members. We saw Sourcewalker go in, just take a lot of damage after that Counter-Strike drops on down.
Yeah. I think that's just quick League of Legends math, not quite going your way, right? You take a glance at the scoreboard, you're like, all right, hey, Midnight, they're on a mythic item completed. Quality player has the non-upgraded Archangels that's not as powerful. Already got several kills into the Nico, feeling strong, want to take the fight. What you're just not factoring into that calculation is that Xin Zhao wins every 2v2 in the game, as long as his mid laner isn't, like, completely useless.
Yeah, and it turns out a 0-1 and 4 Orianna with Shockwave up isn't completely useless. He's only sitting on the Archangels though right now, so not the hugest nuke. Still scaling up, but quite a bit of damage. And Xin Zhao definitely gonna be feeling fine and dandy with 2-1-2 scoreline they've accumulated.
Definitely. Just continuing the farm up game. We're getting ourselves another pretty quiet mid game here between these two squads. Nobody trying to force anything too hard. No turrets taken down yet. That is going to make it tough to really open up the map and go for anything too creative. I do expect to see this Rift Herald used before too long. With the 6 grubs, it is going to be so powerful. Your ability to take things down. Just need to catch one lane in a slightly vulnerable position, and the winning formula are going to be able to secure a tower here pretty easily.
Yeah, definitely a little funny though. We haven't seen the first turret flop this late into the game. Granted, actually no, there's been 8 kills. That's a decent amount of action. Garya still hanging around this mid lane. You have Sourcewalker from the top side too. That's gonna land.
Good use of the Tempered Fate. Quality player going to be forced to flash. Teleport being channeled by Zakuma. Will get interrupted by Jost. Zakuma not going to be able to join this play, but it's already been thwarted. Omega Gaming going to back away. Jost taking a rough trade for his efforts, but will at least get the pride of having interrupted MVP.
Yeah, but funnily enough, Joss might have been fine. Oh, there's the shockwave.
Shockwave just chunking Midnight out. He knows he can't go back in for the Pop Blossom here with the Xin Zhao, so he's just going to get forced out of the play here. Now he's way too low to be able to exist in this standoff. Not again, guys! This is just a disastrous series for Rift Heralds.
Doesn't even get the charge on down since he used it. Does at least get like 3 wallops in on that turret.
Yeah, he gets 3 wallops at least, I suppose. That's not nothing, but
It's not completely useless.
I mean, we're really pushing it. We're gonna say not completely useless.
Technically, there was a benefit to using that Rift Herald.
All right, maybe potential dive in here from Lee Sinners. He will be backed off.
Oh, the Crescent Strike too, right before this dragon spawns. It's a nice cooldown to get out here, because a Xin Zhao without the Crescent Strike ultimate to give you that invulnerability for everybody that isn't inside the circle is a Xin Zhao that is very, very vulnerable, and do not want to be eating up those Pop Blossoms. Tunnel on in for the 80 carry.
Ooh, BMW just looking for the solo bolo. Gonna get it here, flashing forward with all those chakrams available. Midnight, though, coming in with a big Pop Blossom out of 2 to back up Jost as he advances forward. They get the kill back out of BMW as it continues in towards the Tri-Brush. Zakama now looking to reset with the World Ender. Gonna get stunned up yet again by that Cosmic Binding as Viscaria retreats back through the wall. Source Walker now advancing on towards Zakama, but do they have the damage to work their way through this Aatrox? There's the full combo from the Nico, but he's still a half HP, and he's got plenty of regen left to go. Helper now going to have to continue backing away, gonna get snagged there by those Tangle Barbs. They're gonna get taken down by Viscaria. Zakama wants to get revenge, wants to finish off. Source Walker will be able to do so, and Midnight just doesn't have the damage to finish him off. Now Viscaria up way too far, gonna get Q3'd, has Helper for the backup, and will finally have to give this up.
But will they?
Oh man, are they still going at this? Helper's got to back away here. The respawns are coming on across though. Midnight's still up here. Key 2 rejoins as well, but the shutdown is picked up by Lee Sinners. And Omega Gaming dip way too deep in. They give back everything they want.
Yeah, Zoko. Ma, able to do Aatrox things there and just heal up a metric ton. Teleport gonna come on out here and take away half the Soriana's health, but you're able to get the dragon here. You're able to get the team fight win here. Now 2-0 and 3 Aatrox unkilled in that last fight. Gonna be huge. You have 3 kills on this Aphelios as well. The winning formula definitely sitting on a winning recipe.
A winning formula?
Mid-game here. I don't know, winning components, winning steps, winning instruction manual.
Whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
They've absolutely managed to pick themselves up. Another nice win there. Really great fight there from Zakama, showing how powerful this Aatrox can be from ahead. And they really do not have a good answer for him right now. The damage output of the Ezreal is just not online without that Muramana completed. Midnight, you saw, got multiple full combos, and it just doesn't matter. It's Tangle Barbs plus Blooming Blows, Blooming Burst, rather, isn't enough.
Yeah. Doesn't help, too, that Kedu died right at the start of that fight when they're trying to pick off BMW. That really put a damper in the spirits of things, and then a lot of cooldowns were down when Zokama finally comes in. And then you just kind of overcommitted trying to go for Zokama and Helper. Right at the end of that, they were really low health, don't get me wrong, but going into that choke point there, they didn't have vision because there was that control ward from the winning formula. There's a couple of Aatrox striking blades.
Garia gonna get held down there for a moment, but I don't think this 2 versus 2 gonna break out into too much yet. Lee Sinners coming around on the side. We'll spot out that ward, we'll clear it out. And a little bit of tower time here for Midnight in a game where first tower still has yet to be taken. These teams are just willing to fight it out until everybody's dead on both sides, so haven't been too many opportunities to take objectives or structures. Now Viscaria gonna get spotted, but he's barred, he gets out of these. Lee Sinner's going to try to make it the opposite case for Source Walker. The follow-up coming on through here. They're going to be able to stun with the concussive blows. He jumps on out, has to commit the control ward. There's going to be that Tempered Fate trying to hold him down on the other side, but Viscaria getting caught out for their efforts will end up dropping down. Meanwhile, first turret drops to Jost on the bottom side, and I think at the end of the day, that is just not a valuable trade.
Yeah. Viscaria. I didn't see what their movements were. It looks like they went back in. I didn't see if there's someone like kind of teleporting in from top to pincer them. Doesn't look like anybody teleported, but it could have been a flank. I'll give them the benefit of the doubt. But you give over first blood, or first turret and a kill here onto this Phelios. Or sorry, not onto the Phelios. It went on to Lee Sinner Shinzao, I believe. And you get a second turret as well. Like, the winning formula.
Going to be the first turret for the winning formula there. Do you want to say, I said it earlier, I still holds true. When you've given up 6 grubs, if you still get first turret gold for Omega, I think that's a win. And they do manage to get that out of the pocket of Joss, who's able to complete their second item off of that gold and do their best to keep pace with where Zakama's at.
Really? I could have swore I saw it set up BMW got first turret there. Either way, though.
No, it was Jost on the bottom.
Right. Either way, though, is on the table here. A minute 30 till Dragon. Viscaria does have the tunnel to get on out. See if they have the catch potential.
Oh no, Viscaria. That is not the Tempered Fate you wanted. Catching himself in his own trap. One more will trigger those concussive blows and will be the end there. Helper gets the kill again. I mean, with the TP Braum, you'd figure he's a bruiser the way he's picking up all these kills. Joust now up maybe a little bit far. He does have 2 armor items. He can sustain through this for a while. Might have to double W before too long. He might just get worked through. There's going to be True Shot Barrage not quite landing. And Josh manages to stay alive.
Yeah, that's Udyr. 2 armor items and the Taba is like, I don't think a Shinzao Braum is getting through that with just auto attacks. Of course, though, you did still get the free pick onto Viscaria. Or, well, I guess he did have to commit a Helper's Flash there, but, like, Viscaria just overextended there. Really thirsting for that ward there in the pit. And yeah, you do have the tunnel to get on out, but Will can follow you through that tunnel.
Now that Udyr's back in the meta, Gopher, I have a bit of a conundrum here. Do I still call it Boar Stance when he's using the turtle skin, the Spirit Guard skin, and it looks like a turtle? Because I feel ridiculous saying Boar Stance, but that's what it is.
Is it still a turtle and Spirit Guard? Oh, Viscaria.
Woo! Getting back through the wall. This time it's successful. He's too close to the turret. They don't know exactly where everybody is. They're not going to go for any further, but winning formula will be able to secure this next dragon. Another turret picked up by Jost on the other side in trade. That will get them out of their second Hextech Drake, though.
Dragon's starting to stack up, though, for the winning formula. You do have to be careful, because next one you give over will be that soul point. And it is still Hextech's soul. Probably the scariest one. Voidling's doing their work here.
Really good mites. Going to be able to rush their way through that turret. When you got multiple people on the push, they are so much more impactful. Shockwave whips!
Hey.
He too keeps himself safe, and that might just be the go button. The teleport coming on in here from Midnight to rejoin the fight as Joss is looking to hold them in place. Tempered Fate onto 3. Midnight looking for the pop. Blossom will get it onto the full back line. Shut down onto BMW. Helper going to follow him as well as Source Walker has found his way out of the back line. Quality player completely forced out of the fight. Omega Gaming Goobers pull the trigger and get themselves 3.
Ooh, that's going to be 3 and Baron here. Such a great pick coming on out. Catching the enemies with their pants on down. The beautiful Tempered Fate into Pop Blossom combo. We've seen it before this game, but last time didn't result in a Baron here. Didn't result in a 6-2 Nico. This time Zokama teleports in. Does not have the teammates around. Just dies during the World Ender there. We'll see what the Goobers can use with this Baron buff here. A lot of turrets still available on the table, including that mid lane outer turret. Preferably, you're going to want to get yourself up to that base here. But man, what a fight here. And that should give them the legs to get a huge lead in this game.
Yeah, Omega are fully back into it now. The gold lead pretty much nullified. And a fantastic fight found by Just, Midnight, and Viscaria there. Combining forces, locking them down, and securing what you would hope is a massive way back into the game for the actual damage dealers, Sourcewalker and Kitu. Neither of them getting away with much kill credit there, but still just relieving so much pressure in that Baron gold. That's at least a kill right there.
Yeah. Yeah. Especially, and Sourcewalker up here. Do you want this Jax to be tanky and damage?
Josh just feels invincible here. He's at level 16 now. He's got access to that Abyssal Mask for the magic resistance, and he's just standing here frontlining for everybody, exerting his will and chunking Helper down to half HP over a couple of seconds.
These centers not able to get their own jungle. Goes on in, look for the shockwave.
Ooh, that's snagged on towards BMW. They're not going to be able to find the follow-up on that Cosmic Bind. But Kitu going to be able to finish off Lee Sinners either way. It's 1 kill going over to Omega. Quality player finding some time to split push in the top lane. Really effective at that with the 6 Void Grubs. So they will be able to get an inner turret worth of gold for that pick on the bottom. What can Omega Gaming do off of the pick itself? They still have that Baron buff for the enabled push. BMW feeling very unsafe underneath this mid-inner. They might just lose it.
Portal. There's no Tempered Fate available. Just past 60% cooldown. Not going to be able to use that to try and pick off BMW's Aphelios here. Siege does still continue on the bot side here. Midnight's teleport is not available if the fight does break out in this bot lane. That is probably about 3 seconds off cooldown, I want to say. And Viscaria, you don't have your portal. Gonna flash out just in the nick of time from that shockwave.
Shockwave being down, they don't have Midnight, so I don't think they're going to look for the fight, but that's a big cooldown. It's really risky to expend that just trying to pick the Bard. Doesn't look like it's going to have too much of an effect, so it ends up being a worthwhile trade.
I mean, Shockwave's already a third of the way off cooldown, so...
Yep.
And nearly halfway off cooldown now.
Yeah, I mean, if they don't fight while it's off cooldown, then it's worth it.
Yeah, I mean, it's gonna be back up to try.
Next Dragon, though, will be soul point for whoever's able to secure it. 40 seconds to go on that. And already looking like the control is going to be in favor of Omega. They've been camping in this bottom side jungle and just stealing everything that the winning formula have for them.
Yeah. Yeah, Lee Sinner's getting treated like a second-class citizen here. That's what me and my friends call it. When you're winning and then just start taking the enemy's jungle camps. Like, there'll be times where we're hitting the enemy nexus and I'm just stealing their camps just to make sure they don't get one last red buff. But tangents aside, things will be heating up here. 5 seconds till Dragon. Tempered Fate. I'm looking for that right now because that's been the thing that Goobers have been using to set up these fights. And if that doesn't land, they might have some troubles getting onto the back line.
Absolutely. Going to be that Solstice Slay, by the way, for Viscaria. You can see it's giving the movement speed boosts over to the rest of the team. It's really helping them out. Midnight getting it there in the minion form. He is looking for a big engage angle. There's the Flash Pop Blossom. Lands onto 4. And it is going to demolish BMW. Kitu blinking over the wall to continue firing the shots in on the other side. Lee Sinners trying to stand and fight and doing a solid job at it as well. Sourcewalker going to get caught up in that Tempered Fate. Kitu gets caught on the other side. Lee Sinners is somehow turning around this fight on his own, but Sourcewalker will find his way into the play. Zakama will be too high health for them to fight, though, and this might end up as a 4-for-4.
It might just be a 4-for-3 if Viscaria has the portal back up here, the magical journey. But yeah, we're gonna need to see some more Grievous Wounds come out here from Goobers, I feel. You cannot be letting Zokuma just go to town on this Aatrox here. With the 3 items, that Steric's to boot as well. TP's being committed. See if that gives them enough prio over this dragon. Does not look like it, even though it is alive. Jungler still down for the count.
They don't have Kitu either. He is such an important damage source when you're trying to work your way through these tanky frontline members. Midnight getting a little bit. Joust arriving to the play. There's going to be that True Shot Barrage just trying to maintain mid priority as much as they can. And waiting for K2 to be able to rejoin this.
Yeah. Neither team really wanting to hard commit just yet. Goobers having to clear out some waves here. Retalent, or the wind becomes lightning. So you just charge over the wall. Damage here onto Helper. That dragon below half health, but it has been peeled off.
Shockwave back onto Source Walker. Zakama peeling off of the dragon. They're trying to focus him down. They're getting good damage off of K2. Lee Sinners jumping into the back line with access to that Crescent Guard. Pop Blossom lands only onto one, but they are able to finish off Lee Sinners. True Shot Barrage raining across the team as Zakama is already finding himself incredibly low. BMW now trying to advance forward with the red and white guns and take over the fight, but not going to be able to find the opportunity as he's got Jost right on top of him. K2 taking the magical journey and finding himself 2 kills for it. 3 for 0 for Omega Gaming, and after a disastrous fight throw, they come back and take the dragon anyway.
Riding on the edge there. I was really concerned because BMW, untouched, DPSing like a madman, had that super fatty Moonlight Vigil to just hit everybody on OMG, but in the end, we see the portal on over from Viscaria, able to land that Cosmic Binding, locking down that Aphelios. That's going to secure himself point. That's going to secure him the Baron here, Gordo. I don't think it'll secure the game, but it's a great step towards securing the game.
Absolutely finding yourself on towards Soul Point now, finally starting to get some of that money into Source Walker and K2. Getting to play the fight just a little bit slower from the Ezreal's perspective, getting to work your way through those frontline damage dealers, get the space bought by Midnight, and be able to play it out as designed. BMW not able to participate in that fight in the slightest, and it comes up Omega.
Definitely on a bit of razor-thin margins at various points in that fight there. For both teams. Those work out in the end for OMG. Want to see what they do with this Baron. Last Baron buff, they were able to get some decent map work on done. Able to get 2 turrets in the mid. Some nice pressure onto that bottom inner. Of course, because quality player with the 6 grubs, or the 6 grubs. Yeah, this.
He's got 6 grubs.
Yeah, the 6 grubs, especially in that top side.
Ooh.
Caught out though.
A bit of a flank coming through. Lee Sinners, nowhere to go. He's dead.
Yeah. Nothing much to say there.
None at all. Now jungler down. Zakaba just still up far here, just not respecting that this is Udyr. He's going to run you down as far and as fast as he needs to. Helper coming in with the backup. This is a 3v3 now as the rest of the members of the winning formula are able to rejoin. Joust in the middle of everybody, but still so tanky and gonna have the double W before too long. Trying to outrun it with the Ram stance, but now gonna have to stand and fight. Still melting down. Double W comes on across. Still sustaining back up. Still staying alive. Viscaria continues to heal him. Helper nearly down for all the effort. Viscaria's not gonna let up now. Meanwhile, K2 and Midnight, they're marching their way into the base. The teleport is being channeled. Can it be interrupted? They see him. The flash from Viscaria is too late. Cannot stop him with the Cosmic Binding, and the push will end at 1 Nexus Tower.
1 Nexus Tower taken down, but you still have 2 Baron buffs here in the bot side, because that was just a 1-for-1 in the end. Still, there were some blinking health bars on the winning formula. There's still a Baron buff here. Counter-Strike coming on out.
These centers up so far here. Viscaria dropping lower and lower. The multiple CCs going to stop them from advancing forward, though, and Helper losing so much of their health bar. K2 really online at this point on the 3-item Ezreal spike and can really force these members back.
They don't lose 2 inhibs on that play. That is a bit of silver lining here. But their base definitely in tatters. He's missing 1 Nexus turret. Gonna really just decrease the lifespan of your Nexus if there are any pushes. We'll have a bit of time to breathe though. Baron buff has expired. Minute 30 till the next dragon. Could be the last one of the game here. OMG are to grab it. Of course, TWF grab it themselves. Double soul point.
Sure. So now, Lee Center's maybe a little bit spotted here. He's in his own jungle. He can back away in time. The rest of
Good
Omega
die.
Gaming a little bit divided across the map. Their push power is still plenty strong, though, and they will take down the last inner turret of the game.
Yeah, able to snag that one on up. Let's see. So Mega Gaming Goobers, they do have control of the map here by all metrics. And with that free push in the mid lane, you can definitely look to just keep shoving out this bot lane. With the stay of the wave, though, you can see from that True Shot barrage, not quite knocking on the inhib just yet. You get a pick here. I don't think they do.
Too much to be found at this stage, but just forced into their base over and over again. So Omega got their team composition online. They got their leads where they need them. Now a Spear of Shojin done for Key2's Ezreal. Gonna push them over into that 4-item mark and well
Is this
ahead of
the real
BMW.
minion? No, one not in. Counter-Strike popped and just gonna leap strike on out.
Joust,
Ram
though.
charge.
Sees BMW, just throws down the double Phoenix stance to try to push them on back. Lee Sinners,
You wanna go
he
in for
sees
this one.
Viscaria, thinks that that's the option, but look at all these members ready to fight on top of
Oh,
it.
they got
Knocked back
knocked down
away by the
Moonlight.
Crescent Guard, but there's going to be the Tempered Fate, locking down BMW. That's the prime
And
target.
Zelko
They
goes
all
signal
advance
mode.
onto him. Sourcewalker trying to finish him off. Key2 has found himself safety. He blinks in. He's ready to rain hell out of the remaining members of the winning
game.
formula, and no win will be found today as it's a triple kill to Key2. Omega Gaming Goobers marching into the base with a 5-for-0 ace will win this series 2-for-0.
Oh man, it definitely was looking dicey in the mid game there. Because the winning formula, they came up with some big fights there. They got themselves the 2 dragons, they got themselves the back-to-back team fights, but then the Goobers, it just takes that one single fight, turn everything around, grab themselves a Baron, and then just barrel things on out. From then on out, I have a feeling we're gonna see a few replays that look pretty similar here, Gordo, with the Tempered Fate into the Pop Blossom.
Huge plays there from Omega. They managed to restabilize the game where they were already set so far behind in the early game. The Aatrox was unkillable. There were so many difficult fights around the Xin Zhao, but they managed to restabilize. They managed to deny that third dragon, and from that fight win on, they are just able to take it all the way home.
Yep, right to the Nexus. It was already the base was already basically exposed. There's one Nexus turret in the way, and that just drops down instantly. Great catches all around, and the winning formula just kind of caught with their pants down in their own jungle, struggling to try and get some presence on the map there in the last few minutes of the game. Because, in all honesty, they're kind of suffocated, just stuck and stranded in their own base.
Absolutely. And that's going to be one win already to Omega Gaming Goobers in a format where each win matters so much. You've only got 4 other teams in your group. You're only going to play each of them once, and you need top 3 to make those playoffs to even get your shot in the play-ins. So going to be a rough loss there for the winning formula, especially when it looked like they were winning in that game number 2. They had a real shot to be able to take this to a game number 3. They are going to have to take some time to think that over before they come on back for the next match next week. But let's hear what the analyst desk has to say about that one. Send it back over to Slayer and Bonfire to close us out for the night.
Thank you very much, Gordo and Gofrino. Certainly an entertaining game number 2 that, hey, Bonfire, we actually got to see the Nexus explode. So that's always a plus in a game of League of Legends when you're
This is
watching
true.
it. But certainly, I mean, Gordo kind of highlighted it. This one was very back and forth. And the intriguing part of it to me was we really stressed in draft that the Omega Gaming Goobers kind of had to be the ones that we thought would take control of the mid game. We thought would maybe be the ones prioritizing going for those grubs, going for those Jerrys and Kevins. But it was actually the opposite early on.
Yeah, and really came down to we both kind of felt like, or I know I did, that this one felt like a really tough position for OMG to be in. You know, in draft, we both talked about how this was a great mid spiking team. You know, you've got the Nico, you've got the Ezreal. They are going to hit their strongest powers insane what this Udyr was able to do and the space that they were able to buy.
Yeah, I don't know if Riot should be taking a look at this VOD, but I'm very surprised to see a Bard out damaging an Aphelios
Yeah.
and an Orianna. So that's really weird. But let's capture how this game went with some replays here. We're gonna jump into the first one here. And Bonfire, I want you to take us through because this is where the winning formula were really performing around those Grubbians.
Yeah, and they had a great opportunity here to start to run away with this game. I believe also that there was a 1v1 kill on the bot side we weren't able to see, and this is just the Aphelios damage. Once you get those chakrams up, got to recognize this, hey, maybe I don't want to be here, ends up dying on across the map. The rest of his team meeting a similar fate. They go for a fight against the Grubby, or at the Grubbian pit, and they end up losing their life. And we didn't get to see it right there, but the Aatrox was unbelievable in the early and mid game, was just so unkillable. It felt like every single fight, yeah, you're able to get down the low health members. The Udyr can tank up a lot of the damage from the Orianna and, the damage from the Aphelios, but that Aatrox, man, with the healing, I know that Gofrino was mentioning a ton. They had no answer for the Aatrox early, and that's a 4-for-1 right there early on. I think both of us were thinking, man, this one's going to be tough for OMG to go into in the mid to late game.
Yeah, because you allow BMWs, Aphelios to get early kills. The Orianna was involved. The Aatrox, who can be a late game team fight threat. It just seemed like, oh, well, we got the bomb rolling. Somebody accidentally cut the wrong wire on the scaling time bomb, and it cut down by about 10 minutes. So that's what it looked like for a lot of this game. But I know you were mentioning it to me while we were watching Gordo and Gofrino take us through that game number 2, that it really all just kind of needed one big push from this Omega Gaming Goobers comp. They had the like big overarching AoE to kind of bring it home. And we'll flash here all the way up to about 26 minutes where we finally do get to see that composition kind of come together. And it was kind of this Bard and this Nico finally combining here. And you got to keep in mind that in the gold graph, this is where
Oof.
they're about 4,000 gold behind. And yeah, quality player looking for that pick on Nikitu doesn't get it. And now you're just having everybody, all bards off. They're all trying to get into this fight here. But you got Midnight teleporting in, and here is Viseria finally landing that Tempered Fate. And that is a Nico player's blissful dream. Gets that Pop Blossom onto not only BMW, grabs the helper as well. And once you knock off that Aphelios in this game, it gets really hard for the winning formula to find a winning fight, even with this Aatrox who just gets cut off from the rest of the squad, shut down galore, and that kind of just felt like the beginning of the end for the winning formula. They lost all their steam from that point forward.
Yeah, and it was the same with what we were able to see out of game one as well. TWF, it seems like they're kind of an all or nothing kind of composition or a kind of team. Every time they go for a fight, if they don't hit it, they're going to get horrendously dogged because of it. And we saw it right there. They go for the Orianna ultimate, get a pick onto the ADC. If it goes right, that's fantastic. You're able to push out so much. You're able to get, I believe there's a dragon coming up soon as well. So they were going for, the home run, but they grounded out to first. I mean, there's no other way to put it. That is a huge swing and a miss. And because of that, that kind of allows Omega to inch back into this game. And like you said, this is when the winning formula had the lead. They didn't need to go for this. They didn't need to have this aggression. They could have choked them out of this game at this point, played with the Aatrox, but they saw a pick opportunity. It missed. And because of that, they paid dearly.
Yeah, I mean, they lost the Baron after that fight. They weren't able to stop the dragon stacking at that point either. But all that really didn't matter except for getting the gold lead back in, because once we get to this game-winning fight here, Bonfire, I'll have you take us through it. But it's kind of just a rinse and repeat of that last one we saw in a lot of ways.
Yeah, look, this is what looks great at first. Look at this, a massive Aphelios ultimate. The backline all down to half health, but I want you to keep an eye on this Udyr right here, because this entire time it's Aatrox versus the backline, and the entire front line is saying, well, what are we supposed to do? We're not able to get through you because the Udyr is just taking up all this damage. I mean, this Udyr and this Jax are doing so much work, and as Aatrox is doing everything that he can, as fed as this Aatrox is, it is really a 1v2 in the backline, and I'll take Udyr in those fights every single day of the week. Ends up being a split fight, and that's a split fight that OMG likes. And I think TWF is going to be kicking themselves because they had their opportunities this game. They had a lead. It felt like they had a better composition, or at least a really good composition to do so with. But when push came to shove, they just were not able to get through the front line, not able to deal with the Udyr and the Jax in front of them. And because of that, they ended up losing this series.
I really think Amelia would have helped a lot with negating the Nico, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
A lot of extra healing over top. I don't know if it necessarily take away the knockup part of the Nico ultimate, but at least not getting barbed into half of the combo. I don't know. That's
Same
just
with the
nitpicky
Udyr. I
stuff.
mean, it's same with
Yeah.
the Udyr as well. When the Udyr is able to just run at you and get that slow on you, it just makes it so difficult to fight.
Yep. And it ended up costing the winning formula this game here. And you heard Gordo talk about it, folks. 20 teams, 5 groups of 4. So you need to win. In a lot of ways, this is as close as we can make the regular season of a season feel like a playoffs, right? Because you're only playing a couple of games before the play-in tournament comes around. And this is a setback for the winning formula. I don't know when we'll see them next. I'm assuming that week by week we'll be checking out each group. That's not a confirmation or anything. That's an assumption. But with as many teams, we might not see the winning formula again until if they make the play-ins or not. So hopefully they can get back to winning ways because it definitely felt like in both games they had some handle on them.
Yeah, look, they're in territories that they haven't been in before. I picked them to be 2-0 because this is a team that likes to win. But realistically, they're in, a whole different league of their own. They have to dig deep and find that communication, the teamwork. And I think they had that. I liked their plays going up for it towards the Grubbians and fighting for that. We both were chatting about it. It felt like this is a team that really prioritizes the top side of the map. They like going for the Grubs, they like going for the Heralds, deal with the Dragons later. But realistically, if you're not able to snowball wins through that, they might need to take a look and say, well, is Grubs really worth getting our ADC behind because we're roaming support up? Is Grubs really worth, going for these huge fights at the Grubs that are really coin flippy? And it felt like there are moments where, on a micro level, they still are decent team, but at a macro level, I think they need to go back to the chalkboard and figure out how do we win games.
We're going to have to figure out that fast as we are going to speed through this group stage of the first ever season of the Mythical League here. That is going to close up shop here for us, folks. Thank you for everybody tuning in here. It was a very entertaining 2-0, I would say, nonetheless. But if you're still looking for more Risen League of Legends action, tune back in here tomorrow because we have our very, very unique and fun draft league kicking off. And that one will also have the Fearless draft. It's Fearless season, baby. So make sure to tune into that one to see exactly how pandemonium stricken the draft league can get. You could always circle back as well to the Mythic League coming on next Thursday. You've got Dominate, Unstoppable on the weekends, and hopefully, I'm going to cross my fingers. Champs will maybe be a thing. Can't promise anything. Hopefully that can get started on the weekends as well. Big shout out to Gordo and Goferino for the always eye-catching casting as always. Big shout out to you as well, Bonfire. Get to chop it up with you on the analyst
No
desk
mullet.
like 2 Goobers. No mullet. I didn't think it was going to happen. And as always, Caddy behind the scenes running the whole show, dealing with Riot trying to screw him out of spectate links. Still got through it completely fine. But make sure, guys, as always, to follow Risen on social media, see when the next leagues are kicking off. And until then, we'll hopefully see you guys back next week for more Mythical League action.